Welcome to the 61st session of the D&D Wrath of the Immortals campaign, where you are experiencing the storyline of Mystara and the epic campaign known as Wrath of the Immortals, which I even have the original book for, through various storylines as you traverse the setting. Our characters are currently in the campaign adventure known as Castle Amber, which has been reprinted by Goodman Games in a nice hefty volume when it was just a single module slip previously. So it's nice to have a revamped version for the game for this evening, which we'll be finishing. And this storyline had them traveling back in time some 100 to 200 odd years. I've got the date written down somewhere, but not in front of me, where they went and saved the headmaster of the Great School of Magic before he built the school. And when we last left it, they had just brought him back to life, having ended the curse that had left him in a casket. After dealing with a five-headed hydra that made people think of Takesis, the five-headed dragon, because it had 5 colors using 5 elements. Though it looked painted on, which then also confused them because while it looked painted on, it really was using elemental effects. So tonight we will pick up with our players, starting with Stefan, who's sitting in our little COVID bubble. Why we'll still got COVID, which finishes this week, the lockdown.
Hello, I'm playing Tidal. Water Genasi monk who's gaining other elements in the process and slowly recovering from severe curtain trauma.
Well, you got your first revenge on a curtain that was successful.
Yep. So
even though you failed to set it alight with candles, you did manage to set it alight eventually.
Yeah, getting there slowly.
And online today we have Jeremy.
Good evening all. Yes. I'm playing Peredir, the Atruaghin. Well, he started out as a lawman, making certain that the laws were ordained and upheld. But now, somewhere along the way, he's becoming a shaman of the trades and therefore trying to increase his knowledge of the law of the world.
So now you're a lawman spelled L-O-R-E.
Indeed. But yes, otherwise, he's trying to spread the good word and will of Atruaghin throughout the world beyond the plateau.
And which he has been doing quite well, mind you. And next person up we have is Kesley.
Apologies, I was finishing food.
You'd be surprised how often that happens when I'm introducing people.
So I am playing Koopa Lani Aokai, aka Lani. She is the human Makai human fighter. She basically is here for a good time, here to make some loyal friends, and is willing to fight anything with whatever weapon she can find. Her goals is that she just wants to go around the world, see what she can, and fight some bad guys.
And you've managed to take on some interesting bad guys.
Yes, very much so.
Next up we have is Paul, who I should remind, chat messages generally make lots of noise when people send them. So I generally ask not to be sent chat messages while running games.
Sorry. I didn't know. Sorry, I'd forgotten it made noise on your end.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just shows up an icon on my end. Anyway, I am Chloe, was a blue-haired pretty elf diplomat, now a auburn-haired pretty elf diplomat, and party healer, and occasional warlock.
He is. And coming back from a interstellar travel is Clarissa, with her character having beamed out quite a few sessions ago. Will be returning tonight. with no idea what's happened while she's been away.
Yes. My character ended up getting stuck into the realm of the Shadow Fae for a long time. She's a seasoned Fae wizard, Blade Singer, and she's also a knight of the order that protects this sacred tree of life.
Okay, so last session you managed to rescue Etienne d'Amberville by burning the sacred tapestry that kept him from returning. As such, we start this session with you standing with Nia also here as well, in a room, looking around, wondering what's happened. You know you're not back in Francia or in the strange Fae world over there, which you destroyed, or in the place where the tomb was, because that was all amber. You're now in what appears to be some form of castle overlooking a vineyard.
I have a question.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry. Am I still stuck in winter mode, or do I return to summer mode?
You're currently in winter mode until you have a long rest and change.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
You haven't had a chance to change because you haven't been able to get out of your mode.
So when you describe where we are now, you were describing for Gliss's character, or is that where the whole party is standing around right now?
The entire party is standing around, and you do see you're in front of Etienne d'Amberville, who doesn't look too much different from when you met him last, except at this point he has a crown on.
My lord, we seem to have succeeded for you.
He
I
says,
don't know where we are. Doesn't really matter very much at the moment.
you were in the nation of Galantry.
Ah. So where we first met you and where you're supposed to be.
Okay, give me a sec and I'll tell you a little bit more about where you are.
And potentially when we are.
Time, I think this is way earlier than when we met him. So I think this is his arrival. That'd be my guess anyway.
Okay.
Hold on a sec, be back. No.
So he says it is the year AC after crowning of the Third Empire, 840.
So that puts it approximately 152 years, 53 years before we were actually going through, wasn't it?
Roughly, yes.
Yeah.
Because you went through in 1007.
Wasn't it?
1006, because you were level 7.
Yeah. So yes, but yes, roughly 150 plus years. Okay. So on oh yeah, it's okay. So Penalty's been studying up on his history and things like that, trying to learn the laws and things like that. Where did that put the scope of the world at that point in time? Does he remember? Like in the sense of, okay, if we're in Galantry,
Paul, are you using some sort of plastic? Stop. Could you stop for a sec? Paul, are you using some sort of plastic near the microphone? Or tape?
Not plastic, it was paper.
Sorry, because
Fine.
it's taking over the mic.
Yeah, I'll turn away next time. Or mute, or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so Jeremy, please.
So yeah, so I'm just trying to work out where does that put the
State of the
the
world?
state of Galantry and all the college and things like that at that moment in history.
Well, the School of Magic hasn't been built yet. They haven't even
Right, okay.
laid the groundwork for it. Most of the city of Galantry is not there. And many of the gods that are active aren't active at this time, because they are active and disappear at various points in the timeline. Many of the countries aren't around. And even the Atruaghin are not actually willing to communicate with outsiders at this point. They have closed their borders.
Yep.
So you showing up would not be welcome and treated as an outsider.
Yeah, okay, so Galantry is actually a relatively new country then in that sense.
It is a relatively new country. It only got formed 11 years prior.
Right, okay.
Before that, they had just kicked the Alphatian Empire out of the lands the year before.
Okay. So, this does not appear to have brought us back to where we came from. Talking to
Or when, anyway.
He says, well, he was told he had about 5 or 10 minutes with you before you continued travelling, as your companion put it.
That would be the tall, scaly one.
Yeah, that would be him. He said he basically made me make a strange promise that I wouldn't talk to you about. Something about not changing the past to fix the future.
Damn, there goes my idea.
Because the future should not be changed for personal gain is one of his statements.
Okay. So what is the best wisdom you can impart to us at the moment, Vincent?
Well, he says that a few things have to be done. So a sword and a ring for the pretty lady of the water.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone looks at title.
Sorry, pretty lady of the what?
Water.
Well, but the problem is, the sword and the ring that he's presumably talking about are destroyed at the time we used them. But they're only developed, created, going to be left behind for us to find 150 odd years from now.
And he...
after he put them into Francia.
Well, we're not in Francia anymore, he says.
No.
The gateway there no longer has any power. It used up the last of the magic of the world to bring us back.
Yes. Oh, so you're not talking about the sword and the ring that you need to have in place at that location so that then we can rescue from the cursed tomb?
Well, technically, they were put in place before I died.
Yes.
And
not yet.
While I've already, this is after I died. I died before, about 5 years beforehand. I died right after Galantry took over from the Alphatian nation.
Okay. So the important thing here is it's a different sword and ring then.
Yes, he hands Lani a hilt and a pretty ring.
I take it humbly and say thank you so much, sir. It's been a great honor.
Okay, as you grab the sword lights up in flame.
Yes. Okay.
You got a real sword.
So
So
Okay.
it is a sunblade.
As opposed to the Moonblade,
Mhm.
the claws are iron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have a ring of petty vengeance.
That sounds rude.
Okay.
That's okay. Look it up. You'll probably laugh. It is a funny thing.
Alright. Yeah, I'll definitely look those up. So I can
And
add it.
he gives you a nice piece of jewelry made out of amber.
Alright.
Feel free to write up how you'd like it described, but it is a ostentatious piece that is worth 18,000 gold.
Ooh.
Single
Okay.
piece of jewelry.
Given a whack of money.
No, she's been given a piece of jewelry. If you turn it into a whack of money, that's a choice, but
Yeah.
you'll never have a piece like this again. Okay, so
As a player, I would recommend you don't design it to be an armband shaped like an ass.
okay.
That can lead to complications.
Of course.
Okay, to Pradir, he hands you a shiny stone and a nice wooden staff.
No, thank you, sir.
So it is an iron stone of sustenance
Ooh.
and a staff of healing,
Okay.
as well as a ostentatious piece of jewelry which you get to choose. That's worth 18 grand.
Okay.
Hmm.
To Tidal, he gives a bowl and a censer.
Come on, don't respond.
And he says both of these will help you control the elements of water and air.
Ooh.
And also gives you a 18,000 gold piece of jewelry. To Nia, he gives a longsword and a pretty stone. The longsword is a longsword of skill, which will increase your skill with longswords while using it. And it's an iron stone of awareness, so you shouldn't be surprised again. As well as the ostentatious piece of jewelry worth 18 grand. To Llewell.
And obviously, to the title, he's going to get given a curtain bedouin transport device.
A curtain of holding. You just lay it against the wall and you can throw things in it.
No, a yurt of flying. It's a set of curtains on a frame that flies.
Exactly.
Okay, so to Llewell, he gives a brazier and a stone.
Right, yes, I prefer the second one. Having to wear it on my chest would be a bit irritating.
Well, it might set you alight.
Trying to get somewhere I can type stuff.
My pronunciation of brazier is bad because my brain sees it one way and tries to describe it another. He says
All
that
the time. It's fine.
he says that will help you with the elements of fire and earth. And he says, apparently, according to your scaly friend, this is a replacement for your existing one, as he pulls out a Rod of the Pack Keeper. He says, your other one got stuck in time.
Oh,
Oh.
it's poo.
So it's a Rod of the Pack Keeper plus 2.
Right,
Unfortunately, it has no other effects at this stage.
right. So I'm going to have to get the enchantments redone.
Or rebuild its legion.
Okay, and you see he gives Drazzle a mirror and a shield with a strange sword through it.
Okay.
A mirror.
Sorry, just to clarify.
Mhm.
Sorry, apologies. Just to clarify, I got only the brazier and the rod.
No, you got a brazier and a stone.
Right, because I was trying to get to where I could type stuff while you were talking.
All good. So
Okay.
they allow you the control of elemental fire and earth, whereas the mirror provides control of elemental darkness.
Mirror? Who got the mirror?
Drazzle.
Right, okay.
And when you say a mirror with a sword through it, that's not the one with just 5 foot size and
No.
and a snake around the outside.
Not as big as that, but he also got a shield with a sword through it.
Right.
The shield seems to be made out of dragon scale.
Like dragon scale?
Dragon scale, yes. One single scale.
I'm
Right.
sure the actual lobby code at home.
I very much doubt it comes from Drazzle. That is the sort of thing you find in a full-size dragon. Unless Drazzle ends up 40 feet tall.
Well, no, but I mean the fact that, yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm sure that Draco will be pleased to take that home somewhere to find out the person who came from.
Depends on its colour. It may be a foe it came from. Or just a dead one. Doesn't matter.
Okay, and he's as he thanks you, and he says, "I'm sure we will meet again." Your friend says we meet 3 times and then it fades to black as he's talking to you.
Okay.
Yeah. Great. So what we're hearing now is the fact that it could be left 150 odd years in the past. Penny had enough trouble telling how old he was.
And then each of you gets to make a wisdom saving throw.
Do remember we have Drazzle available. He can shift us around now. Wisdom save.
16 for Penny.
Okay.
24.
19 for Lonnie.
Okay.
Hey,
You got 8?
I'm Larry.
Okay.
He doesn't
And
know anything.
that's okay. At 8, next thing you know, you wake up. You're somewhere else. How'd you go?
Willpower, did you say?
Yep. Wisdom.
Wisdom, sorry.
Same thing, different system. That good?
Yeah, 5.
5. Okay, so you go from quite awake in this room, going dark, to waking up somewhere else. Then we move on to, so who got between 10 and 15? Anyone get between 15 and 20?
Penny was on 16, so
Okay.
I think Penny will be next.
So, Paradare is in the most pain he thinks he could withstand before passing out, and then wakes up somewhere else. Then, who got over 20?
Me.
Okay, so you go through the most pain you think you could ever imagine, and then more. And then more. So you actually went past your pain threshold, probably what felt like years ago, as you feel the passing of time through your brain, as you stretch in every moment from now for over 150 years into the future. As your brain is conscious of that time interlude, and it passing at a snail's pace, yet all together in one moment.
So, not the best of fun.
No.
This is bliss.
There are some times when failing a dice roll is probably the best thing you could ever do.
All I got is what I got.
So I know. So you find yourself stepping out of the back of Drazzle's wagon, hair sticking up all over the place, smoke coming out of your ears, and a look of a stunned mullet on your face as you look around, and everyone except Prey Deer is looking rather peaceful as they look up at you. Prey Deer just has the I've got a headache sort of look on his face.
I am.
Atruaghin's testing me again.
You. I will not make any comment, and I will comb my hair and pull the bits out of it, and cast clean on myself several times as I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm. People notice that Llewell has the shakiest voice you've ever heard of him in the whole time you've met him.
I say no more than a greeting, or what I just said. That's it. I'm not going to say any more until I calm down.
Okay, so while you're there, you realize you are back in the palace in the center of Alphatia.
Oh, good. So we haven't escaped.
Oh, you had? And as you're sitting there, you are met by someone who you met previously, Galantia Atruaghin.
Yes.
Is she an elf? Like a
No,
fae?
she's not an elf. She's a human.
Oh.
But she's the one that gave the raven as a gift to Pettigrew, wasn't it?
She was.
Or was it one of her family?
Yeah.
She was the one who gave you the gift.
That's what I thought, yes.
And she was friend of the previous emperor Tyleon.
And was she technically the one that locked us up?
No, she was the one who through
Arranged for
the
travel to the area.
she had previously brought in people to help train you over the last few months. As far as you're concerned.
So we're in Alphatia, but this is the Galantrian elf, isn't it?
No, she's not an elf. She is a human from the Isle of Dawn.
Okay, no, I'll think of a different person that gave the raven. So I found one saying a gift from Dona Calanelia, the cow.
Okay, so
yes.
She is the princess of one of the Galantrian houses.
That's right, yes. Okay, so yes.
They all sound similar after a while, unfortunately. The longer you live, the worse names you have to pronounce.
And let's face it, it's fair to say, Peloton's still trying to get used to the idea that there's more to the world than just a plateau.
Okay, she greets you warmly, saying it's been months since you disappeared and escaped. Why have you returned?
The situation under which we left was there was still issues to be determined.
I believe
our departure was not necessarily planned or expected,
but it did postpone the order of execution because you weren't there to be executed.
And there is no longer a reason to execute.
Well, she said postpone, not annul.
The husband of the Empress is still dead. So unless you've stopped him dying, then no, the reason for the execution is still valid as far as the Empress is concerned.
Sorry, the player forgot that wasn't the person that got dead is the problem.
All good.
That's
the NPC reminding you because it's been a while since you've actually had to deal with it.
And yes, player to player, the fact that we've just saved a Galantrian prince, he's not going to help us in Alphatia.
That wasn't the problem, Jeremy.
Right.
Please, that was not the problem.
So, she says she did have the wagon and its horse. She says, saying horse with a willful use of the word. To one of the estates used for visiting dignitaries that had been closed for renovations for the last couple of months.
So fortunately, no one else, including the Empress or her informants, are likely to know that we are here at this stage. Is that what you're telling us?
Well, probably not even the Empress. She takes you to look outside, and she points up.
Looking up.
You see the sky is full of skyships. Everywhere you look, there's more skyships than you can count. More than the stars in the sky. She has recalled her fleet.
Relations have not settled then.
No. The Theatan Empire has challenged the Alphatian Empire, basically saying if they step foot on the continent of Brune, they will intercept and stop them.
That is terrible. So, it's war.
So the two greatest empires this world has known are drawing lines in the sand and saying, if you step over this side of the line, we will fight.
Well, there is the thing of...
Do we know why they are fighting?
One of the things that is what we're trying to help with, or try to fix, is basically, apart from anything else, pretty well everybody is far more belligerent than they used to be. There's a lot more conflict between countries, and it's being affected by what we're trying to fix. So these people being like this is not entirely surprising.
Just, well, you have a choice. I can hide you here for a couple of months, and we can try to get out when there's less of those skyships wanting to play hero. Or you can try to make your own way out, dealing with the most gung-ho, patriotic spellcasters in history over your heads.
With thousands of them. Okay.
Thousands of them is understated, she says.
Well,
And she says there's all of them. They've never congregated like this in the history of her people. This is their entire fleet that spans multiple planes of existence brought here.
There's more of them than we have hit points. We're staying here.
I suspect that at the very least we need to at least wait and determine exactly what has happened in the world. Unfortunately, yes, our departure from our accommodations that generously provided by the Empress was unexpected and unplanned at the time, and it appears that, yes, we have missed some of the activities in the recent months.
So, okay, so she has...
We certainly took some time to actually recover and understand exactly what the status of the world is at the present time.
Well, she can tell you about some of the things that have happened. Apparently, in the nation of Alfheim, if you've ever heard of it, has had a haunted hill start to gain sentience.
Oh, fun.
Not the sort of sentience that you'd call fun.
Well, no, fun in quotes.
The Theatan Empire has pretty much said, keep out of our territory or else. Over them wanting to punish the Alphatians, Alphatians wanting to punish the Galantrians for the death of the Empress's husband. Because you represented Galantrian when you were here and disappeared.
Yes, we still have to solve that particular problem because
she does not recommend you dealing with the Empress anytime soon. She has a kill on sight order for you and your friends.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't going to go and explain to her. That would be bad.
So what you're saying though is the fact that whilst there were definitely other reasons and justification behind it, our actions are apparently the instigator for the war, from Alphasia's concerns. Is that correct?
Well,
You are one of many catalysts in that. The fact that there have been various interventions in Alphatian's dealings by people from the areas protected by the Theatan Empire does not help. Many deaths were caused on the island of Aegos when a group of people from Theatan territories made it over there and destroyed their operation there. So apparently they had dug a hole into a new world and got it collapsed upon them. She has had word that the Atruaghins are doing the usual intertribal warfare. Nothing unusual with that. She says that's normally how they find brides to be and grooms to be. The one who gets captured is the one who marries the other one. Be careful. Yeah, be careful you don't get captured in their lands, because whether you're male or female, if you're captured, you can be converted into one of their marriage candidates.
Oh, wow. But okay, so the king Atruaghin died? Or the king of Gallantry died? Gallantry.
She haven't mentioned Galantry yet.
Are you asking this maybe what your character's perception of the world is at that point?
Yes, because I am actually from Atruaghin. So for me, it's important that I know.
Yeah, so what they're saying is that there's a hill in Alfheim that has become sentient and is killing things.
But the question being the fact that, okay, if there's a war between Galantry and Alphasia, who would Alfheim be siding with? Is that what you're asking?
Technically, by the politics of the nation, neither. Because the elves of Alfheim generally don't bow to either nation.
Yeah.
But you probably got used to the fact you probably have more interaction with Galantry than you would with Alphasia, simply because they're on the same continent. Now, when that's positive or negative interactions, different question.
Though the elves do remember that the Alphatians are more belligerent than the Galantrians. The Galantrians just kicked out all the clerics and dwarves and halflings and some of the gnomes and anyone too religious from their country. Whereas the Alphatians, if they took over, would wipe out your complete culture and make you follow theirs. That's it.
I want to...
Go ahead.
Can I try to connect with my tree?
Not from here at this stage. It's very hard to connect from a distance.
Okay.
They talk about how Atruaghin has started to put together a council of experts from around the world trying to figure out what's going on, and that they've discovered a dungeon under the city that they keep exploring.
Oh.
Yes.
So
we had a bit of a look into it, didn't actually go in too much.
In Ethengar, there's a bunch of missing pilgrims from the Haldanic Knights who have gone missing, as well as the spirit world going crazy. They are currently dealing with their Year of the Ape. I'm sure there's nothing wrong with that. And the Five Shires is dealing with a bunch of wraiths in the mountains. So in Galantry, they've had most of the entire family of Alphatian descendant wizards were assassinated by a bunch of Alphatians. Very ironic in that, she says, because if anything, they would have wanted to recruit those people, not kill them. But the Galantrians have pointed their finger back, saying, "Bad us."
And did that apparently happen before or after the death of the Emperor's husband?
It apparently
by
happened.
Atlantean spies.
It apparently happened in retaliation.
Mhm.
So whether it actually was sanctioned or unsanctioned, or not related at all, can't tell, because, to be honest, Fate is not welcome to investigate that region anymore.
Oh, no, so this is where just recognising that, yes, the old three sides to every story, and we're only getting one side so far, and the interpretation of another side, yes.
And that there are apparently werewolf hunts going on at the moment.
Right.
I bet they haven't found any of the size of this one. Benedict can pull out the pelt. Actually, no, maybe you can't.
You go to pull it out, it's not there.
I was going to say, because I had to leave that outside the tomb. We didn't get a chance to go back in to look at it. So.
Yeah, the other thing is it may not have come across anyway.
Okay, so she says that at the People's Temple of Irendi seem to have lost the Hope Stones. She says she hopes they find it, but Hope's not with them at this time.
Well, no, they don't have a Hope Stone.
Interesting news coming out of Karamikos. They are basically trying to find out why some giants have been killed mysteriously on their roads. Though apparently they don't want it really solved at the moment if it's only giants dying.
Because they don't care.
No, because the giants are still a problem.
Okay. If the giants are killing themselves or something else is killing the giants, that's not us being killed by giants from their perspective.
Yeah, because each year something dies on the Duke's Road. And to be perfectly frank, the King, Duke, or whatever his name is in that country, basically says better giants than citizens. And they did point out that the success of the Great Gnome Caravan actually returning to Speculum did make its return this year. After having been lost for a while.
I had heard a rumour that was back on track.
Yeah.
And that the Church of Karamikos has lost 3 of its relics, Black Razor, Wave, and Worm. And sent a bunch of heroes off to investigate what happened to it. So in Minruth had this in the last year. She said that there have been rumours of issues above and below the water with guilds. So they've been dealing with their own little skirmishes over there. If you don't like being attacked on the water or under the water, avoid that region.
Yeah.
The northern reaches have been dealing with Cult of the Crushing Waves, getting a lot of popularity.
Okay.
In Norworld itself, the nation of Wendar had put out a call to its elven friends to come help them over some mysterious incident.
But no further details, thereby being mysterious to everybody.
Well, mysterious to most people. Apparently, they lost their protective artifact.
Yeah.
And they blame their nation to the north.
Right.
So what is the common thread beyond that? Everyone now is very aggressive, distrustful. There must be a common thread.
Well, that's one of the things that, as part of the Red Drink Investigation Bureau that we've been worked into, or volunteered for, depending upon who you were and where you were.
Formed around us, possibly.
That the recognition that there are strange events happening in the world, one of which, or one result of which, is increasing unrest and violence throughout all the nations.
Yes.
So we're trying to,
we're trying to fix it.
In
work out
Rockholm,
exactly what the cause is and whether or not it can be remedied.
in Rockholm, the dwarves have had enough with the giants and declared war on them.
Okay.
And in Yularum, apparently they're hunting for something called the Sparkling Spear. They seem to have some sort of annual hunt for artifacts of some sort, and that's what they were hunting for in the year, and someone usually finds it. When they've got an entire nation dedicated to finding something from the desert, it usually turns up.
Is it usually a weapon-related thing?
Not always. They were trying to find, at one point, the lost Degini bottles to stop people making wishes and destabilizing the region. Because you never ask a genie for a wish.
I could fix so many things with one of those.
She just looks at you and says, no, just no.
Yeah, I know, but...
A wish is asking a demon or a devil or something worse to do something for you without knowing the cost. Yes. That is what a wish is. It is not I would like something nice to happen. You can never ask for something beneficial with a wish. It is never in the workings of one. The more beneficial you try to make the wish, the more likely it will be twisted and turned upon you. The nastier you make the wish, the more likely it's going to turn out the way you want it, with repercussions you will only understand at the last moment. So
only loonies ever cast it?
Or people who are archmages. So
I'm presuming they can counter the effects somehow. The bad effects anyway.
They've at least learnt what the effects of the spell are without using someone else's power. Borrowed power is always problematic, especially in a country full of 1,000 wizards on a council. Do you really want to ask 1,000 archmages, should I use a wish or not? You'll get 1,000 different answers.
Probably 2,000 actually knowing wizards.
She says you're not wrong, but they each have their own opinion on what you should be doing.
Yes.
Now, the big point of contention is the Thetan Empire countering the Alphatian Empire. It was expected that we would. It was expected that we would fly over the Thetan-controlled or influenced nations directly to Galantry and bombard it from the air. With the size of this fleet, there is no one nation on this world that can stop this empire. This fleet is bigger than anything in recorded history. Not even the dragons themselves could stand up to this fleet.
Could we... I think that the solution is not fighting. There must be someone we should try, because there's two options here.
Yeah.
My hunch would be that there is some sort of device, like one of the gods maybe play at a boundary and find what is happening, how people are reacting to that.
The gods are not answering questions relating to this. The gods have stopped responding.
Yeah, this is various things being messed up in all pointing in one direction at the moment.
At the moment, that the gods have literally stopped answering questions.
Yeah.
So, are we able to maybe try to use diplomacy or get some people to talk?
She doesn't recommend you go anywhere for the next few months unless you wish to try to negotiate those flying ships out there.
As I said earlier, this basically says downtime, because pretty well the alternative is going out and facing all those ships.
So just confirm, Martin.
Yep.
So all that recap of what's been happening in the last few months has all come through
The Alphatean
this
perspective.
Alphasian noble.
Yeah.
Eyes. Yep. Although obviously the way she describes the events and occurrences, she's not. While she's an Alphasian noble, she does not necessarily entirely agree with all of the Empress's current plans.
She's technically a Thaiasian.
Like
She's technically a Thaiasian noble who is sitting in the Alphatean court. Because she comes from one of the nations on the Isle of Dawn. Alphatia claims the entirety of the island of Dawn, as does the Thaiasians. So both of them have a line pretty much drawn down the middle where no one goes into the center of the island because no one comes back from there. And they've got nations around the outside, and she comes from one of those.
Right. So yeah. So she's technically an Alphasian noble, but she's from the she's got a seat on the Alphasian noble court, but not necessarily an influential one. But also, yeah, she's not necessarily entirely approving or sympathetic of Alphasians' practices and procedures.
She corrects you a little bit on that. She says, while it would be nice to have that level of authority, she is respected as the equivalent of an ambassador from another nation.
Okay.
The only voices that are heard in the council chambers are those of the kings and queens of each of the nations of the empire.
Right.
Or one of the
Can
head
you learn
priests, or one of the council of wizards.
Can we learn more about the Queen or King, or hear a little bit more about who are the wizards in the council to see if there's someone we can work with?
She does not recommend trying to work with them at this stage because as far as what would happen legally, because she's an ambassador, if she's caught dealing with you guys, she'll just be expelled from the country. If one of them is seen in coercion with you, they will have committed high treason and will be executed and their entire family killed.
Yes.
Because the Empress is still dealing with the fact that her husband cannot be brought back by even artifacts. So they have been trying for over a year to bring back her husband and been unsuccessful. This is something that is beyond anything in recorded history for threat level. So if you had the capability of killing someone without them being able to be brought back, you have now entered the level of threat that they are not willing to negotiate with.
And remember also that as characters, we have memories of conducting the killing.
Yeah. Except she doesn't, because she wasn't there. She's one of the few who wasn't there. So that's where something you have to explain to her character. Her character does not understand that because she wasn't there.
No, they can't.
And neither was Lani. And she says, well, you and your friend were not part of that group. Unfortunately, you're not recognized in this country. So stepping forward and trying to get yourself heard by a king or a queen requires you to actually have accreditation of some sort. And you've got no guild, no family, no standing in this nation. Well, and Eladrin itself may be able to find an elf willing to vouch for you. Vouching for you is the equivalent of saying, if you've lied, they get to be killed.
Yeah, I'll get the same thing.
And then certainly, yes, if it becomes known that you've travelled with or been involved with the rest of us, then you're automatically likely to be targeted the same way.
Yep, but
you said yes.
They are easy to be executed because they don't have the memories. So that there's no compunction about whether or not they kill the associates.
So we keep our heads down, i.e., as I said before and right at the beginning, it sounds like downtime.
Yeah.
That gives us the months we
I'm
need.
happy to see if we can find a place to rest and hide.
Yeah, well, she's offered us that. That's why I was saying it. And talking to the headmaster that we just rescued from his own death.
He's not here at the
Getting him
moment.
to dig us out of it.
I'm assuming he's not anywhere near here.
He's
not.
He's in Galantry City running the Great School of Magic. And it is now over 250 years since you spoke to him.
Yeah?
Well, sorry, 150 years since you spoke to him.
He'll remember us.
Well, that was the other question I was going to have, Martin, when I was talking about the idea of all the information so far is coming through this effectively Alphasian ambassador personage. Does anyone have Regrian staff? The title, maybe?
Sorry, can you please repeat?
I was just asking whether or not Tidal still had access to Regrian staff, so that then one of the things that, whilst we do at least spend, well, initially some days and probably more likely some weeks, some months, holed up in this location, it would be interesting to get, if he's able to contact Regrian, to see whether or not there's other sides to the various stories and information that's coming through.
Yes.
And then, yes, potentially during that time, there may be some way of trying to contact Etienne. Although, I don't know whether or not anyone's got that means. But
Redrin will. If we contact Redrin and ask him to send the headmaster a letter for us, then that should get through, because that's got nothing to do with the connection between us and him.
So, Tidal, you try calling Redrin?
I don't think I have the staff. I'm pretty sure Llewell has the staff.
No, he has a different staff.
No, I've got a different staff.
Oh.
I've got the staff of Mazikeen. This has come up before. You've got Redrin staff. I've never touched it.
Oh, that's right.
Mostly because I had this staff and I didn't want to touch another one.
Yep. I will message Redrin.
Okay. So, there's a couple of chimes on the staff until it finally gets through. It chimes a little while.
Yep.
Yeah, the equivalent of busy signal.
Yep.
And you finally get through, and Redrin says, Tidal, it's been a while. What's been happening?
I don't know.
You don't know what's been happening?
No, here, talk. And I'll just let the others talk.
So, who am I speaking to, he says?
Yeah. Hello, Regrian. Headed here. Associate from the Atruaghin clans.
Oh, it's been quite a while. Nearly almost a year since I heard from you.
Well, we have significant information to report, although I'm not entirely certain how much value will be in the current climate. One of the reasons it's been a while since we spoke is that we have been lost in other realms, other worlds, other times, and so somewhat out of communication.
A letter turned up this morning from a Etienne d'Amberville having been asked to do so by Drazzle.
Yeah, that.
Yes. So, and basically, so Penedier will briefly go through the events leading of our activities in Galantry, the investigations at the dead elf, and then the circumstances under which we ended up in Alphasia, then our arrest and apparent complicity in the death of the Empress's husband.
He says he heard about that. Officially by the Empire, you've been declared war criminals. And there is a reward out for each of your heads.
So, and then so that's what we've discovered since we've returned. but yes, you may have noted or heard that yes, we'd escaped from confinement at that location, but the escape was to another world, another place that apparently was the ancestral home of Prince Etienne of Guardsman, in which had been lost in time and space, and as a result of the prince's death, approximately 100 years ago. However, we managed to recover and return him to the timeline, so therefore it continued, as we already had done.
What he said.
Or something.
That's okay, because if you hadn't of recovered him, he wouldn't have built the Great School of Magic, which would not have stabilized Galantry, which means he would never have been sent there in the first place, which means you wouldn't have been sent back to save him. And many things would have gone wrong, he says. He's sure. He finds this time stuff really annoying, especially talking to Grezel.
And
which is why he's asking you instead of reading the letter.
Reasonable.
And as we see in his case, is someone who was apparently travelling the galaxies and the universes umpteen thousand years ago.
He reports, I might have been travelling the galaxy, I was not travelling through the time stream. That just leads to madness. Your brain sort of almost pulls itself apart unless you thankfully lose consciousness while travelling. Otherwise, you might find you've left a bit of neuron along the way and not have much left by the time you reach your destination.
It's certainly not something that I'm having experienced time concerns on multiple occasions in my, well, what's technically recent past, but possibly was also a long time and but far from now. Yes. However, the end result of all this, and as I say, we'll now explain that yes, our current location and the fact that yes, we're currently being sheltered by the lady and names, whatever the name was, type stuff.
Galatia Alatrian.
Yes, Galatia. In Alphasia, where obviously it means that we are not going to be moving around much in the immediate future. We're planning on trying to stay low as much as possible for this time. But it does mean that, as I said, we've got limited information about recent events to report to you. But we are also curious as to whether or not there is information that we should be made aware of at this stage, and or, since we are in Alphasia, if there is things that particularly that you wish to actually know about, we may have some contact or capability to find out while we're here.
Okay, so he says he has some information on Miss Elantrian. She is the lady-in-waiting to the daughter of the Emperor of Thyatus, who was sent with her to Alphatia when the son of the Empress was sent to the Emperor of Thyatus as an exchange program to stop them going to war with each other.
Right.
So technically, she's a hostage of the Alphatian Empire.
Yeah, so technically she's more Thyatan than Alphatian.
But she's on an area that Alphatia claims to have controlled in the past, so believe they still control it.
And how long has she been in Alphatia for? How long has she been part of this exchange of diplomats?
She has been there for about 5 years now.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, yes, hearing that and understanding that, then
she went there when she was 20.
Pettidier will be also then taking a better look around exactly what our surroundings are and how safe and secure this place might be.
It appears to be a Rome-esque sort of structure designed for the housing of Thyatin diplomats.
Right.
And considering the current negotiations with the Thyatin Empire unlikely to be visited due to the tensions and very few people wanting to bring attention to this having any ties with those people.
Yeah. So under normal circumstances, it might be considered like embassy type lands. In our modern sense of the word type stuff, like
it's more like the place you put up the diplomat while they've got their own embassy somewhere else. So it's like if you're going to put up a member of state somewhere nice, safe, and secure away from the populace.
Yeah.
Where you put them up.
Yeah. Okay. So it should be somewhat unobtrusive on the idea that people don't want to be associated with Thyatin right now, but it also means that it's the type of place that if things go bad or worse, it's probably a target for the masses.
The isolation has its advantages and its disadvantages.
Absolutely, yeah.
That is true.
It's also a protected building too.
But it's also not looked at by the populace very much. It's just one of those estates off to the side.
Yes.
With many other estates off to the side because it does have multiple countries it affiliates with.
So how physically close are we to the capital of Alphasia and all the Emperor's seat of power?
You can see it from where you are.
Right, that's right there. So
you are in the city. The city itself is more than 10 miles across.
Yep, okay. So yes, in that sense, it does mean that we're definitely in a good position to conduct investigations in Alphasian lands or Alphasian capital. But
we're really careful.
Absolutely, okay. And certainly we want some different appearances if we're going to go wandering around and looking at things.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it does mean that yes, if Adrian has specific information he wants to try and accumulate from Alphasia, then potentially.
He recommends discretion because he's found that their security forces are a little gung-ho at the moment, and anyone who trips their suspicion is being imprisoned.
Yeah.
Because with the fleet they have amassed over their capital city, dwarfing anyone else's military, the equivalent of 1,000 to 1, that they could pretty much take on every nation of the world with that armada they've amassed single-handedly. Every other nation of the world.
Yeah. But it's a horrifying display of force.
Yes.
Things that are very terrible, like at this. I have a question. Is there a way for us to conceal our real identities if we're to leave here?
That's the thing he's trying to tell you to be careful of. Any form of concealment is treated with suspicion.
Okay.
Noting
around who know this.
Noting on top of that any mage higher level than us, and that's a good bunch of them, is almost certain to determine that we are concealed by something. So yeah.
And they are on the equivalent of war level footing. So
what about instead of magical concealment, we just use makeup and disguise?
Well, and that's it. Like potentially, we could put on a cloak and wander through the streets, but it would be risky. And yeah, it's exactly what we're trying to do in that time. Like that's it. We have the potential to be able to get out and about, but it would be exceptionally risky. And depending upon what we want to achieve, the risk factor will quickly go up.
And he says that the secret police are acting quite brutal, which is higher than they've been allowed to act in the past. So the Empress herself has given permission for measures beyond what citizens of Alphatia have been put under in the past. So, if you're ever found to be a non-citizen, any right you have to live is gone.
And obviously, well, I'm not technical is, the general appearance of the average Elfasian, I'm guessing is somewhat different to the average Atruaghin or the average elf or average Atruaghin or...
Yeah, and there's the problem. If we are going to disguise ourselves, we basically have to keep with the races we presently have or use magic. And this isn't something
Can
that
we
we go make me look like a human.
Can someone port us away?
Not in the amount of magic you're in right now. You're in a magic-free zone. One of the benefits of the estate you're on is most magic cannot penetrate or leave unless it's paired with something. Your staff is paired with mine, but you cannot create a teleportation circle unless I've got a paired teleportation circle for it, which I do not.
And I don't know about you, but Atruaghin's not ready to go back via Draggle's path.
No.
Or is bad enough coming forward or something?
Yeah, one of the really big problems with the idea of physical disguises, non-magical ones, is elves average like 7 feet tall,
Mm-hmm.
and humans average about 5.
Yep.
So it's too tall.
So it's not.
3 of us are too tall.
It's not going to work without magic.
And there's only 2 elven clans that are known to be Alphatian, and those clans scare most other elves.
Yes.
They are the stuff of nightmares.
So if we know we cannot go anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a bit...
That's why
Should we maybe
downtimes.
try to go to sleep first?
Well, we're going to have to
I would like
rest.
to sleep because I've been stuck in my grumpy mode. I'll tell you, I've been stuck in it for months, and I just can't stand it anymore.
Yeah, no, that's just it. I'm assuming that even these discussions we've had right now are taking place over at least a week.
It can have taken place over a week, and you could have changed your form by then.
Okay. Like in the sense that we got some information initially from the woman whose residence we ended up in, this character, but then without her present, took the opportunity to try and contact Adrian, talk to him about bits and pieces. So yeah, I'm working on the idea that we're taking at least time, and as I say, it's likely to end up being some months that we're laying low in this location. For the sense of, as Paul's saying, the fact that effectively downtime opportunity to gain next level.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's certainly not happening in an afternoon or anything like that at this stage. So. It was just that, in the conversation with Adrian, it was just thought that, we're going to be stuck here for a few months, at least. If Adrian had specific information that he wanted to know was occurring in Alphasia, then we might have been able to do it, but not until we knew what he was looking for, and then be able to make a decision. But,
he doesn't know what he's looking for, but he does say, keep your wits about you and be careful when you leave that place, because while you're within the estate, magic keeps outscrying eyes. They are still searching for you and have been scouring the world for you for the last 6 to 12 months.
Yeah. So basically the timing we've got here is it comes down to how long does it take for someone else to find out what the actual problem is, because we're stuffed.
At least for the next few months.
Mostly. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right, we're stuffed basically until someone either finds out what the problem is or the heat dies down because they've got something more important to check up on.
Well, he's currently trying to arrange...
We can act during that time, but we have to be incredibly careful.
Yes, okay. The other one that I would also think, unfortunately, potential trigger that might allow a movement would be the departure of these airships. If war commences, then that might be enough for cover.
Possibly.
He's got some news on that. They're looking to make an offensive about 2 to 3 weeks into the third month of the year.
Galanti's looking to make an offensive?
No, Alphatia. He's
so he's obviously got some other information sources other than us, so that's good to hear.
He's got quite a few people in various places around the world feeding him information.
We've seen a few of them.
And he recommends waiting until the airships start making a move, because till then you've got a whole bunch of board captains who can travel planes of existence with nothing better to do than hunt down potential bounties for the Empress's favour.
Very large bounties.
And on the bright side, considering it's been several months since we escaped the Empress's accommodation, people would probably expect us to be looking. They probably would expect to look for us in the capital still.
It's probably the only reason it's going to be possible for us to conceal ourselves a bit and try and get out and about.
She does have. Galatia does have some friends who can assist for a time, because they would not get the reward even if they were to turn you in. They would be executed along with you. So they're more than willing to continue to help out. And she's trying to arrange a way out, but she can't do it while the airships are here, because, again, the focus is on what's happening in the capital, because all eyes of the Empire are on the capital right now. Once you step outside these walls, you may hit scrying, because they're looking for spies. They're literally looking for spies right now. Any spy they can find.
Give people stuff.
We're
here.
They're the most paranoid people she's ever come across. And until you deal with the Thaatian politicians with a secret.
Yeah.
They're about on par.
Yeah. So that's the problem. If we conceal ourselves in any way, we immediately start looking and acting like spies.
And they immediately could potentially pick you up because of the scrying and all the other magics that are part of this. So we're in lockdown.
Well, a spy will net someone who turns them in 1,000 gold coins per spy. Turning in any one of your heads will earn them a dukedom.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Right. This is where a rogue would immediately try and work out some way of turning himself in by getting a clone made of himself, cutting the head off it, and taking that in for money, or something similar.
So I guess during this time, as we're discussing all these events and stuff, Lonnie would be listening in, but she would be setting up some kind of like small physical training area for her so that she can continue to work on her physical skills and play with her new sword and stuff while she listens in, because she figures she's along for the ride. She has no idea what's going on with all this stuff, so she's going to listen in the background.
So, from Lonnie's perspective, she's in something designed by the nation that had enslaved your country and was kicked out and expelled, and your people actively sink their ships.
So I guess that's probably why you're not looking for a duchy with an Alphatian then by handing us in.
Oh no, that's the Thaatian Empire I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Thaatian Empire, not the Alphatian Empire. In the palace you're in is built by the people who conquered your nation, and your people booted them out. So much so they're still angry at them.
Ha.
It's the equivalent of if Australia went through the revolution and kicked out the English.
Gotcha.
Because the Irendi Islands were built as a penal colony for the Thaatian Empire.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's exactly what happened with America, because that's what America was.
Exactly.
And they went through their revolution, and that's why Australia exists. Because we're the replacement for the American penal colonies.
Yep. So,
They
oh
haven't
my
gone
god,
through the revolution. We'd be Dutch.
so my character really can be America!
Yeah.
Freedom! Yay!
Well,
Very much so.
yeah, we'd point at you and
Also,
laugh. You certainly could.
She could be a duchess very easily too.
So easily, but...
Because technically you've got nothing to actually tie you to us.
Technically, but Lonnie has built up quite a bit of trust with you guys, so she will do literally anything for you and us more.
Drowsel's head's also one of the ones they're asking for.
Yes.
And she is extremely loyal to Drazzle.
Though they're not asking for a duchy for him, they're basically asking for him to go away and never come back.
Which is an admission that they're not actually able to do anything about him per se.
There is a rumor there that the Nation of Dragons has said, you kill him, we come after you.
Yeah, no one pisses with him. Even a sky full of dragon ships. A sky full of ships.
Though you would say that this Armada and the Dragons, it may be an even fight.
Yeah.
For the first time in history, there is something that can challenge the Dragons and possibly defeat them.
Yeah. I don't want to be anywhere near that fight.
And with something of that level of threat, you could not imagine anything of that scale. Just looking at those ships out there, the amount of power output from them is just mind-boggling. It's many thousands of years of creation gone into building that entire fleet.
I want to eat them all up.
Each of them unique in their own right. And so, after spending time, you get a couple of months resting. Getting into the third month.
Mm-hmm.
While you're sitting there waiting for something to happen after going through various training, you hear the weirdest noise from outside.
Yeah. And knocking, somebody
What does it
crying.
sound like?
It's the strangest. You can't actually imagine what it is until you look outside.
Mm-hmm. Look outside.
Looking outside, you see the entire fleet of ships falling. As if someone just pulled the power plug on the entire fleet.
So the noise we heard was 35,000 people all saying "oh shit" at the same time in different languages.
And you see parts of the city shutting down at the same time. Everything here that seems to be magically based, almost turning off.
Oh.
It's almost like someone has turned to the off switch in magic in the area.
So, and that's affected our own personal items, or if we're talking Alphasian magic items?
Or is it only the stuff that is, or it's only the fleet that got turned off?
Looking around, you see parts of the city have started to collapse.
But also, that had ships drop on the city, like with the ships hanging over the city at that moment in time. So
they were going underwater, didn't they?
No, there were thousands and thousands and thousands of ships over the city. As you see them all start to come down.
Okay.
Okay. Is our magic affected by this? It's easy enough to check.
Don't know. What do you try to do?
Activate one of my smaller items. I'll just check and see which one I'm going to do. Very good. No, I'm just going to cast a spell.
Which
detect
spell?
magic. What I detect actually, if I detect magic looking at that lot, I'll probably have my head explode.
Well, let's go with detect magic, as you did suggest it.
Yeah.
You can always have a will save.
I'll look at my hand and do detect magic. Does it activate?
Okay, detect magic activates, and you see anything of power that you'd seen earlier. Even the wards of the place you were in are gone.
Looking over our heads directly.
Yeah.
Have we got ships falling onto this building?
Ships seem to be coming in this direction, but nothing directly above you because you are on the outskirts of the city.
It means the immediate problem of, hang on, are we about to be crushed? And or are we about to be invaded by a whole heap of people who didn't actually want to be in here?
Okay, let's look at the positive here. They can't blame this on us.
As you're watching various emergency systems activate on the ships, trying to slow their descent and guide them away from the city. There's a lot of carnage as ships hit ships, and it does look very messy out there right now. This is the first time you could probably say, no one's going to be looking for you.
Yeah.
I pipe up and say, okay, you guys, I think it's time to go.
Probably a good time for us to actually, yes, bug out and go and do downtime elsewhere. Thing is, how far can we go?
Probably blame us.
Yeah, yes, there's that too. Because they'll blame us even if we didn't do it. And I'd love to know how that was done.
We should go out and help.
Help what? Where? If we get caught helping, they'll still arrest us.
There's still going to be people.
I know, but we can't afford to be caught doing this. I would love to help.
I think we need to leave.
Okay. We'll help people on our way out. How about that?
As you go to the courtyard, you find Razzles there with 2 wagons and horses hitched up.
So, was this you, Drazzle, or were you just taking advantage?
Drazzle looks at you confused.
Okay. Let's take advantage of the Drazzle. And if we can see anyone on the way as we leave, we can help them.
Well, most importantly, initially, is does Galantia and or any of the others residents in this facility wish to take the opportunity to try and get away from Alphasia? Not necessarily got guaranteed where they're going yet, but
she comes to you and says she can't leave because she's technically a hostage. If she was to go missing, that would be a declaration of war against Thyatis.
Yes.
If you want to avoid war, she has to stay.
And you're thinking that the sudden collapse of the Alphasian naval forces is not going to get blamed on Thyatis?
They don't have the magic capability to do that. They never have.
Whether they could or not is potentially irrelevant if Alphasia decides it was the thing.
The thing is, there are more magical countries out there that they've got to blame.
The only people who could do that would be the Hin Nation, the Halflings, or the Giants. They're the only ones reputed to have such magic.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
In which case, thank you for the opportunity and the accommodation you provided.
She says, make the best of it. She will try to lead rumours of you heading north, so she recommends you head inland first before trying to make your way out to the oceans.
We will certainly do that. Thank you. Drazzle.
Well, certainly one of the activities over the last few months was actually working out, okay, where we were going to get to from here, how we're going to get away, what kind of options we had. So, then, yes. That sort of planning, hopefully we've got an idea of where we're going. If we head inland, absolutely, but we've got an idea of what we're looking at going inland. So, well, that's what we were expecting at the time. Obviously, the world turned upside down.
Yeah, well, considering what's been going on recently, I don't think we've got any idea what's going on in any direction. Drazzle probably has more useful information for us right now than anyone else.
He looks extremely confused for the first time you've ever known him.
Mr. Drazzle, do you have a way for us to get out of here safely?
He shakes his head. He has no memory of this time.
Because, oh God.
He says gods are not here. Gods have gone.
Well,
there are no gods, he says.
Yes, it was a reflex.
Oh. No, he says there are no gods. He is very confused.
Simple amounts of
The god magic has failed.
Oh, that makes me sad.
Yes, that is potentially very worrying for myself. Although, given what I've already successfully done, I think my magic's at least mostly internal. Because as a warlock, I'm a divine creature. At least a creature of the divine. So,
Infernals.
No, in my case, we're talking about me. I'm a creature of the divine.
Okay, so what do we know of the land inland from where we like in the sense of like I say during our time of downtime, the idea an understanding of what's this place Helvetia?
Can they lend us a map?
Let's see if I can get a map.
Well, I say
At least travel maps.
Yeah, certainly one of the things that Kennedy was doing in his downtime was actually, let's say, finding out about the world and hey, this brand new continent. At least it's not a new universe. He certainly will have been doing that practice of okay, where are we? Who are the people? What's going on?
Yeah.
Where do we want to get to?
Okay, so you can see a map on the screen.
Yep.
You can see where the finger is.
Yep.
That's where you guys are.
No, I can't.
So
the arrow. Yep. The white spot.
Okay.
I'm circling a
smack
red
bang in the
symbol.
middle.
That's exactly where you are. She recommends you not take the waterways, but go east, which is away from where you want to go.
But
Considering we're so far away, it won't make much difference going a bit further yet.
It won't, considering the nation of Alfheim, these trees here. The size of this place here, it makes the whole known world you come from very small indeed.
Yes.
Because the part of it we know, including all the countries we know, is actually a relatively small chunk. Could you select the area? Don't just aim at it with the mouse. Could you actually select it on the image, please?
What do you want to know?
Possibly not.
The known world that we know.
Okay.
Like, can you highlight or put a box around it? I don't know if you can.
I can't do it on the image, but
That's exactly
see
what
where
I
this
asked you
hand
to do.
is?
Yeah.
That's the entirety of the known world you know about.
Yeah.
And if I go to a bigger map of the world, that's this tiny little section here.
Yeah.
So Alphagia is this big nation over here where you are, but they rule most of this area here.
Yes. So basically, we've been sort of adventuring in the many countries of England, and now we're in the larger world.
Mm-hmm.
Going on size.
Yep.
And there was a plan for you to get to a coastal city and take a vessel from Minrathad who trade along the trade lanes.
Right. But
Because as an unaffiliated vessel, they won't be causing a problem in any of the ports, and you might be able to get yourself back. They just charge you probably about 10 times the cost of travel. Because that's what they do.
yeah. Yeah. Are there places with river travel from inland to the coast?
Oh yeah, there are, but to be honest, that's where they would expect spies to be.
That's what I say. Initially, we're just going to hit cross country, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, cross country and or nick ourselves an airship. Which isn't going to happen, I don't think.
Yeah,
Well-
so I think the recommended course is that we go due east and figure it out from there.
Yeah.
In fact, the interesting thing is, because right now, the option of nicking ourselves an airship is probably quite viable. Unfortunately, the airship's not going to go anywhere.
An airship at that point is a wreck. I'm talking about an airship, not a wreck.
You don't think many of the airships survived?
No.
I'm not expecting any of them to survive. Those things are lightly enough built that a fall from more than about 20 feet is going to destroy them. That's why I'm not thinking about them as a possibility.
Not all of them fell. They all
Well,
have various means of survival.
Well, I can see gnomish ones having things like parachutes and actually making it to the ground, but they're not going to get off again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they seem to have backup systems that may or may not have worked for some of them.
Yeah.
So.
All it means is some of the crews are going to survive, really. Anywho.
So, Drazzle's happy to follow whichever way you go.
Certainly happy to effectively go east, because that appears to be the longest route to any actual other cities and things like that. So it gives the best chance of actually staying on coast. Do we know what the terrain's like in there?
It is mostly plains and grasslands. It is probably the nicest region of this entire nation to travel through at this time of year.
But also the one that's got the most visibility.
They have herds of animals going through here, lots of various trees and stuff. The road would have plenty of shade because they don't use roads very often inside the country.
So there are trees along the roads. It's not all just open plain.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, of course, if people can see us, we can see them, and we're under trees.
Mm-hmm. But also, I wouldn't be surprised if, in fact, we're not going to be the only ones scattering in the city.
No, there's going to be a lot of people going. But that also means there's going to be a lot of eyes.
Yes.
But yes, moving exactly away from the direction people are going to expect us to move is the way to go. The only way that would be less expected is going straight north, and there's a mountain range in the way.
And also moving quickly is key, I believe.
And from what you hear, no one goes into those forests anymore. That's where you find the elves.
Not expect to come back out.
Talking the forest off to the.
So think of the crueler stories of the elves in the forest who use trickery to the point of killing you. That's the stories of those elves.
Is it mean elves? I'm not afraid of the mean elves. I guess we can kill the elves.
We might survive. They won't.
So look, to put it into perspective, these elves aren't the worst elves you know of from your stories. These are the elves that you know you could probably stand up to, but would probably still kill you. It's the shadow elves that scare you more than anything else, the elves of darkness.
Yes.
But the other thing, of course, is the fact from an Alphasian perspective, we've got elves in our party, even like before even Lani was here. The fact that yes, they might think that they'll try and escape to those elven forests. Not necessarily recognising that, hang on, not all elves are the same, but...
Well, yes, it's a distraction that we can hope for but not count on.
Yeah. Okay. And so, as you travel, you hear for at least the next week various explosions coming from the capital.
Uh-huh.
But you can hear from many, many miles away.
All that missed looting opportunity?
So, are there actually a lot of other people on the road trying to move away or towards?
Not a lot of people coming this way because very much so this is the equivalent of an animal trail more than paved roads, because it's been probably about 200-300 years since anyone's come this way on foot.
Okay. Oh, ideal for us then.
And the fact that you had carts and horses is not very common in the nation where they rely on magic to go everywhere. They can actually transport between cities via magic.
Okay. Even the peasantry doesn't necessarily walk around on foot.
No. They don't have a lot of peasantry out in the fields either. They use technology or magic to do a lot of that stuff.
Okay, that's cool.
So
it does mean that we're potentially more visible because we're the only people travelling on foot, but
But as you're
shore
traveling,
coverage.
you don't even see homesteads out this way. You just see towers in various points in the distance, with lights flashing in them as they're doing some sort of experiments. And it's not uncommon for what you heard of Alphatia for there to be days going between even seeing someone else here, because to be someone of importance is to have magic.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else lives in one of the major cities or towns.
Right.
They don't have hamlets, they have towns. That's their smaller settlement size. Because it's not safe to be out in anything smaller than that unless you have the magic to back you up.
Yeah.
And you see many herds of animals, some of them 2 to 3 times the size of your wagons, roaming about in the grasslands nearby. So like I said, it's very pleasant and most things avoid it.
Yes.
Sounds wrong. It's scary.
So, what it means is that we're not going to see, even as Martin said, we're not even going to see a lot of refugees. Although a lot of the refugees from the city would also be on foot and not doing all that well because they're not used to it.
Yeah, they can't. And they just get like this. They can't actually necessarily move around as much because they haven't got magic, and they're probably working on the idea of, well, that means we can't move at all. So
No, that's quite possible.
Okay, let's see if I can actually get this. Okay, so as you come close to the city, the town of Von Bobby, which is 6 hexes away, where I think each hex is... Each hex is...
8 miles from memory.
No, not on this one.
24.
I think this is actually a much bigger scale.
I think this one's each...
Oh no, I took that from what he said. Yes.
Each one is 48 miles.
Okay.
So you pretty much do a hex a day to get there.
Yeah. It also means that someone could be in the same hex and still not see us because they're over the horizon.
And as you are about a day away from it, you come across what appears to be a guardsman resting his feet.
Okay, what sort of uniform is he wearing? What sort of armor?
He has the Alphatian National Guard. He has a spear about the size of a toothpick on his waist, which you know will grow in size when he takes it off.
Spear.
And has a buckler on his arm, which you know will grow into a full-size shield or tower shield as needed.
Yeah.
And he looks like he's got sore feet.
Does he look like he's got any friends?
No. He looks like he looks exhausted.
Okay. I'm going to approach him in a friendly manner, holding out my water bottle.
I was going to say the fact that, yes, as part of our travels, whilst, yes, we can't necessarily do formal disguises or magical disguises or anything like that, ideally, we have done as much as we can to hide, like, okay, Drazzle will stay on the coach type stuff rather than walking around 8 feet tall and he's got a big cloak on and things like that.
We're making it so we're not obviously us. But there's
Well,
very
or we
little,
could
there's
not
very little
obviously-
to actually hide, as just
Yeah.
already been noted.
Yep. So yes, you have given yourself a form of disguise, and you approach him, and he gladly takes the water. He says, I've walked the furthest I've ever walked in my life. He says, and I'm trying to get a message to Sudsval. Do you know what's happened?
Sunfeld, do we know where that is?
Which that is the capital of Alphatia.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Sunfeld, yep.
Okay.
He says all their portal systems shut down. He gives you the date, the same day as the skyships fell from the sky.
Excuse me, I'm going to come back soon.
I will tell him what happened. Taken from the point of view solely as an observer, of course, but sort of we saw that and decided leaving was a good plan.
As well, he's taken him 3 days to walk this way. He's never walked so far in his life. Normally, he would just walk to the gate station and gate to where he needed to go. It was so much easier when their network was working. It's almost as if they've gone to the Stone Ages. They actually have to walk places. His feet hurt from so much walking. He just goes on and on about walking, as if it's the weirdest thing in the world.
He's traumatized.
He is traumatized by having to walk because he's never had to walk more than a mile in his life at a time.
All right. I don't have any actual salves or anything like that because I don't usually need them.
He says, I've got some sort of round protuberance on the bottom of my feet, and it's all red and swelling. I have no idea what's going on. And
That's called a blister.
And our clerics have been unable to contact the gods, and most people with magic have disappeared or hidden for some reason.
Disappeared?
Yes.
Yeah, people are hiding, strangely enough.
And no one seems to be able to use magic of significance. Anything above second level doesn't work.
Have we tested it off?
You've not tried any spells because you haven't wanted to call attention to yourselves.
No.
Oh.
But he says that no artifacts work, no gods respond, and no spells over second level work.
I'm going to
Can
try
anyone
something.
use that skill to test?
I'm going to try something. And I'm going to tell him this is an experiment as much as anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But I have some healing abilities. And I'm going to use my Warlock Pact healing rather than a healing spell and see if that works. And I'm going to do it at touch so you don't get a stream of pretty things.
Okay, so...
Does it go?
Give me a sec. That's the Pactus Celestial from the Xanathar's Grade.
Yep.
I just need to read the wording on it.
Yeah.
Okay. As you go to do so, there is no light.
Right, so that's not working. I'll try a cure spell done at level 1.
That seems to work.
What did you want?
So the healing spell works, so his feet feel much, much better.
He still looks at his feet oddly, going, he has no idea what's happened. He's never felt that before in his life.
No, well, that's what happens when you are not used to marching and you've got...
he marches through portals all the time.
Hold on, are those riding boots? Or are they dress boots?
They are dress boots because he doesn't have to walk very far at any point of his normal existence.
And he never has to ride because he uses a magical conveyance.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
because
that's the
riding's
problem. That's your problem. You're not using walking boots. Those boots are for basically short distances.
But every distance is a short distance in this nation, normally.
Yeah, that's the point. You're wearing boots that fit your normal world.
We don't.
Not the one you're in right now.
We don't sell boots for walking. That's just crazy talk. That sounds like exercise.
Yes, it does.
Why would we want to walk anywhere when we can portal that?
Okay, that's not the problem. The problem is you're wearing boots that aren't designed for what you've just done, which is walk a long distance. That's why you have a blister.
But you can't buy boots that are designed for walking long
Not the
distance.
point. I'm telling you why you have this strange feeling and this bump on your foot.
He's looking at you with incomprehension to what you're trying to explain, because it's like trying to tell the guy why the sun shines. It's like, but it's shiny. It shines for this reason, but it's shining.
Yes. But yeah, yeah, that's the thing. You asked, why do you feel this strange feeling? And I told you.
Says, but that just sounds crazy. That's just crazy talk, he says. Why would anyone design boots for just walking in?
Unfortunately, these are crazy times.
They are crazy times, and there are people outside your country. You realise this?
No.
That's not a relevant point right now.
It says officially they're not people by our laws.
However, these non-people make shoes for walking because they don't have your transport methods.
Oh, that's okay. When we civilize them, they won't need to worry about making walking shoes.
Right. I will leave that point.
You realise it's sort of been beaten into these people. This is what they do.
Well, of course it is.
So how long have you been walking for?
I've been walking for 3 whole days. He's done 48 mile in 3 days.
Yep.
That's about right for someone who can have
And you're
practice
looking to try, you're on your way to Sunsville, is that
Yes,
correct?
I'm there to investigate to see if they can send a wizard to fix our portal so we can get back to normal modes of communication and travel. Because
Yeah,
all
that's
our
gonna take a
communication
while.
is through portal.
That's going to take a while.
I'm sure they'll fix it. That we've had glitches
Well,
in
I
the past.
described just earlier when you asked what's going on, and I told you what's going on.
You get the feeling he thinks you're exaggerating because of your accent.
I don't freaking care. I just told him, this is what I told you what's happened. That is what happened. It's going to take more than a couple of days for them to work out what's going on and fix it.
Well, by the time I reach it, it'll all be sorted and it's all good. You know, these wizards can solve everything, he says.
That is quite probably true, because you realise that you are about a month away from Sunsville.
Yes, I should have brought more food and water.
I would
Quite
suggest
probably.
to you that you walk barefoot at least for a while. Also, if you've got no survival skills, that you get a guide. Which will show
Sure,
you where to get water and
says
so on.
how much, he says.
You going in the same direction he is or not?
No, you're going the opposite way he's going. You've just spent 5 days travelling to get here.
Travelling a lot faster than he is.
Mhm.
But of course, he also doesn't necessarily recognise which direction he needs to go either. So,
You're 1 day from his town.
which, as I say, the town is not necessarily something that we want to get to ourselves directly.
That you
But-
can go around it.
Penadir will actually aim to have a quiet word while our soldier friend here takes his boots off and has a drink of water type stuff. We'll leave him pondering his blister for a moment.
He has the softest looking skin you've ever seen.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, there is potentially a couple options here.
This is what you recommend.
So,
You look like you know how to walk on the land.
no, the point is that Penadir's taken Clue back back to Jessel's cart, so we have a quiet word with that while our friend gets himself sorted. To suggest that I would be confident that this person has no idea how or where or which direction to go to get to Kirkwall.
Yeah.
Because we've been travelling along a path, but not necessarily a definite path.
Yes, we've been going
Very
on a
much so.
pathway. Now, the best
And
thing
there's
to
been
do at this
multiple branches
point-
on that path, have there?
Many branches,
suggestion-
and basically it's very much mini game trails merging and coming off. So
Okay.
you would have been confused if you didn't have an experienced tracker with you.
Okay. This guy, if we leave him, is going to die. Because he has not got the survival capabilities. Our best bet is to actually tell him to come with us, get him to take us back to where he's come from, because there's no point him actually going there because he'll never make it.
No, that's right. But I agree.
What if he's been Bernardine and we get arrested?
Well, we'd separate from him just before we get to the city.
Well, no, that's what I'm getting at. Is the thing.
Or even better, have him vouch for us.
But we don't want to go to Vonduray.
No, well, we can get close and then sort of.
What I'm looking at is, and Penadier will, if there's not actually a map directly on us, he'll actually briefly sketch out an idea of what he remembers from the study that he'd done for the last few months.
That's why I asked for maps from.
Yeah, and if we've got one, that's fine.
Yes.
Looking at the image that Martin's got up there at the moment, Penadier would make the suggestion that, okay, we've travelled, we're approximately this location. He'll point at the hex type stuff in Vonduray, like outside of Vonduray.
Roughly where you can see the pointer.
He'll suggest that, in fact, what we want to do is shift our direction a little bit more northerly to try and then go through between the towns of Vonduray and Dohos and Rhinos, basically along that hex pathway to the northwest.
Considering the size of those hexes, we could go straight through the black spots and still miss the cities.
True, that's right. But effectively the idea that we are certainly going to go around cities.
Yeah. Yes.
But I would recommend that we do take this gentleman with us. He can still think that we're going to Sun's War. We've already told him it's at least a month away. At least that was on his mode of travel.
Yes.
And so I would be pretty confident, based upon his the demonstration skills and knowledge that he's displayed so far, that we can travel east, and he'll have no idea that we're travelling east.
Probably.
And it would potentially give us an opportunity to get more understanding of the surrounding area and potentially have a local.
Give him a bit of deceit. So we can. Okay, so in that case, what we'll do, we'll set up a campsite, we'll feed him, and while we're doing that, you make sure he ends up facing the opposite direction or sitting the same way he is now. So when we leave in the direction we want, not the way he thinks we're going. As you suggest. Yeah. And then we'll just allow him to tell us everything while we travel.
The question, of course, will be that it'll give an indication exactly how widely our descriptions have been dispersed.
Yes.
Because he recognises us when we've got the opportunity to actually sit down and not be complaining about his listed feet or things like that.
He doesn't have listed feet anymore.
We'll actually have a better understanding exactly how much our faces are known. If he doesn't recognise us, that's good. If he does, then presumably he'll have to be eliminated.
Let's see if he recognises you.
Yeah. We can hope for not that.
I'm certainly hopeful that he's not, because it puts us in a much better position.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So what you say is that he doesn't recognise us, but he damn well should have, and we're going to be in trouble. We think we're okay.
He does talk to you about how every town has their most wanted pictures up there, and he starts describing you all very unflatteringly in those posters, not realising he's actually talking to you, and about how every member of the Guard are hoping to get a duchy out of finding just one of those people, because it's something that they all aspire to, because most of them will never be more than rank and file for the military and the National Guard, no matter how good a spellcaster they get.
Okay, basically it comes down to we have to actually clear our names or we're going to be screwed forever.
No, only in Alphatia.
That's right, but what does mean to me is that, okay, we're no longer going northeast down between those towns. I suggest we get around Vonduray and then head more southwesterly where there's less towns. I'm not certain what the coastline is like between what's it, Deltwing or something and Sonderkin or whatever it is on the far east coast. There's a 3-head gap between two towns. Not sure what the coastline's there, but I'm hoping there might be some towns we can pick up along the way.
Well, the idea was Dimmelberg should have a port, whereas there'd be no place for a boat to pull in besides the city. They would have set up the nation that way.
Yeah, so Dimmelberg would
Actually-
probably be our goal of where we need to go.
Yeah, there's another thing too. Any boat that we get onto, either bought, stolen, or hired, is going to be foreigner.
Well, exactly. But yeah, so I'm thinking that, we definitely won't be heading, we continue on the eastward pathway, go around the end of those, the hills, and then head southeasterly.
Yep.
I would be aiming to come out below Dugsburg or whatever it is, on the hopes that we can see what the coastline is there, and then come into Dugsburg from the south, rather than if we decide we need to go to Dugsburg.
Well, so it'll take you many weeks to get there, but when you do get there, you will find that it is great cliffs. Looks like it's almost been raised out of the water itself on purpose to be very hard to assail.
That would be a reasonable thing to do.
So almost home as far as the Atruaghin is concerned.
As far as the
But you're
tourism is
lucky to
concerned,
sail.
it's very like home, except there's water here. So the cliffs would only be about 60 feet, so not as big as your plateau.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, okay.
But it's still reminiscent, and that's enough for him to go. Oh,
Which is
oh.
good. And when you come closer to Dimmelberg, you see that there is a floating skyship above it.
Oh,
It's sort of listing a little to the side, and
And
has
it's still sort of
signs
working.
of cracks through most of the hull.
it's still sort of working.
And we currently see no evidence of any other air traffic in the
No,
weeks of walking.
you've kept away from most of the cities by doing so.
Certainly in the
So-
distance
so-
I was walking. Yeah.
So nothing's flown over the top of us.
No, nothing that you can
Basically.
see, because most of the flying ships that may have come into view would not have been flying very high due to the fact that they all crashed recently.
And also they'd be going directly between towns,
Yeah.
and therefore, almost by definition, not over us.
Very much so.
So the I'm assuming that if we're travelling on it takes some weeks of travel to get across there. There's no real issue with actually maintaining foraging and things like that, based upon the wonderful plains and the animal tract and everything.
There's lots of food, and taking your time because you've got horses and transportation means you can forage quite easily.
Yeah. Okay. What was the name of this soldier that we came across?
We learned that pretty quickly.
His name was think of something very Greek.
Okay. Very Grecian.
Yeah.
Greek, yes, because that's the Phaeacians.
Yep.
Anastasians.
The Alphatians.
Like
Alphatians.
Alphatians. Them.
And he would have
Here we
left you after the first day's travel, realizing the sun was rising and setting in the wrong positions.
So he did actually realise eventually, fairly quickly.
Yeah, fairly quickly. So he would have ducked off to the side sometime during your travels.
Right. So he'll either get somewhere and possibly tell somebody about strangers, or possibly go, well, they saved my life, therefore I'm not going to tell anyone. That's a possible. Hopefully.
Well, considering we're travelling about he's still probably going to be at least a day and 2 days away from Vonduray if he did go straight back.
Yeah. The other thing is, all it means is when we notice that he's gone off, we change direction slightly. That's all we need to do.
And that's just it, obviously. At the time he would have gone off, then we would have been actually heading in that northeasterly direction.
Exactly.
And then
just go straight east.
Go on
then.
south.
We can go more east and southeasterly in that point.
Okay, so as you're coming into Dimmelberg, you can hear pronouncements being announced from various parts of the city saying, keep calm, things will be brought back online soon. It's only a slight inconvenience that the network will be back up and running any day now. Keep faith in your wizards.
Right. That was.
I think we should drop this guy and run away.
How far away? How long have we been travelling now?
That would be.
How long has it been since they've had a useful transport network?
About a month and a half by the looks of it.
About 19 days.
Oh, no. Okay. So it's only a couple of weeks. Okay. But just going back to the soldier type stuff. So when he was travelling with us, he seemed quite affable after being able to walk being able to sit on a cart without necessarily walking and things like that. He seemed quite friendly.
He seemed more insufferable than friendly. So think Dimitros from Wednesday, but talking in ignorance and putting everyone who's not of his nation down.
Right. Okay. So he's been an ignorant prat the whole time. We got information out of him, but that's the only reason we want to have him around. So when he leaves, we're relieved.
Well, he pretty much speaks the bigotry of the nation, which is no other culture is worthwhile. They aren't even intelligent until they take on their belief system.
Well, of course, he's just so wrong. Elves are that.
Yeah,
so,
but the question then is that, so he leaves. He tries to escape away in the night and not be seen, or does he actually say goodbye? He's like saying, I think you're going the wrong way. You don't know what you're doing. We must be going this way, and he's just walked off in the other direction?
Well, he sort of walks off in the other direction when Praedir goes off on his evening forage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So by the time you've come back, he's been gone for about 2 or 3 hours.
Yep, I've got no problem with him leaving. It was more the conditions under which he left is probably the point.
Yeah. So, well, there is the thing, though. All the more food for the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
But also, before he left then, we still didn't get indication that he'd actually smartened up and realised that the images, the photos or the pictures he'd been telling us about, he'd recognised as us.
Still not. He may describe you in a way that other people may think it's the people you're supposed to be hunting. Having spent enough time to describe you, he still thinks you're nothing like the descriptions because they're very unflattering when he wears them.
Yeah. Okay. Happy with that. So,
yeah.
And obviously,
there's also the thing of we were nice to him and pleasant and polite. That we cannot be the criminals that were described.
Though you were also obviously foreigners, so he will be describing you as obviously foreigner before he starts on the descriptions of you.
Yeah. But I mean, obviously, so certainly for the next 2 or 3 days of travel, we were certainly moving a bit faster than we would have originally planned to, and changed direction slightly in bits and pieces. But presumably, if we weren't caught within the first few days, we'd probably whatever happened to him, either he didn't make it home or his descriptions didn't get to us. That's okay. So,
or they're trying to follow you on foot.
That's also a possibility. That would be very amusing.
Because they're used to tracking from the air using their airships. Each town had their own airships for this purpose.
And obviously, yes, particularly after having our departure, Penadil will be paying more attention, at least for the next couple of days, of trying to cover tracks and things like that in the way we're going. So
it does mean that the fact that we're running away from a great disaster is aided by the fact it's a great disaster we're running away from.
You've gotten the inkling it's not the great disaster you're running from.
Oh, no, we know that. But
no, you've got the inkling the great disaster is not in Sudsville.
No, that's... I actually get the impression, to an extent, that was incidental.
Well, and also the fact that, because your magic's been affected...
you also notice that none of your artifacts work.
Okay, your magic's been affected. I'm assuming Penadil's magic's been affected. And so artifacts don't work, but normal extra items still do.
Most of them seem to work. It depends on the effect, really. But you think that anything that is already put into the weapon will work. Anything that's drawing on something celestial in nature, there's nothing to draw from. There's just nothing there.
Yeah. So I guess Penalty Macatool is not quite as effective as it would normally be.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's fine because it doesn't have an active effect.
Oh no, it has a connection. And that
Holy
connection
It's quite highly simple.
Okay, so yeah, as a holy symbol, it doesn't work. At the moment, it's just a magic sword.
But that implies that yes, there is certainly the effect was obviously not just in Sunfell, which we might have been incorporated in, and then the fact that the effect affected all of Alphasia. There's certainly argument as to why we should be caught up in that or not. So.
And you haven't been able to contact Redrian since then either.
Right.
His staff does not seem to have any power.
Right.
Well, that's right. Either the issues affecting him over there in the other continent as well, or he can assume that us goddamn idiots have got themselves lost in time again.
Maybe.
And also, if during this whole time you haven't been able to get a straight word out of Drazzle because Drazzle seems lost.
So that's normal then.
Yeah.
Getting a straight word anyway.
He barely talks. He just sort of stares off into the distance, not really communicating well. More so than he did before.
Okay, so I'm a half a bad swordsman. Get out of this.
And so you do hear more from the pronouncement at Dimmelberg, where they are basically telling everyone to keep calm and magic will return properly soon. It's only a slight inconvenience.
Maybe.
Because you do know that this nation is built upon the right to use magic to rule.
Yes. And it's all gone, so their rule is a little juicy right now.
Does Alphasia lean more towards arcane or divine magic?
They don't care as long as you wield magic is the thing. Okay. So non-magic wielders have no standing in their society beyond slavery. You can't use magic. You're not a person, as far as they're concerned.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then if you don't follow their beliefs, you're not a person. So they have a lot of ways of demeaning people.
Yeah, well, this is actually very common amongst a lot of different places. In fact, so far, we've only encountered one country that doesn't do stuff like that.
You mean Atruaghin?
No, Atruaghin, you're still sort of where the greatest outsiders suck.
Oh, sorry,
basically everywhere.
I
everywhere
make it right.
No. It's the attitude again. It's the attitude versus outsiders is what I'm talking about. The prejudice.
Yeah.
Everybody does that.
Absolutely, that's all normal. Okay.
Yeah, except a couple of places. Despite the fact that anyone who travels discovers that this is not true unless they're very, very carefully blinded themselves to the fact.
But that's just it. People need travel normally. So.
Well, no, that's the thing. Except this place, they can travel anywhere. They just don't. So they end up being prejudiced colonialists.
And you hear some of the crowd calling out questions to the guy making the announcements. Someone calls out, I just came down to get some breakfast, and I've been stuck here for 19 days. When am I going to get home so I can get a change of clothes? And basically, you do realize these guys have taken basically the ability to use magic to go everywhere for any reason at any time. Basically, they do travel all over the place. They just barely leave their confines of their nation because they use teleportation circles.
Yeah. Yes, but merchants do travel. They might have magically powered ships to do it.
This guy didn't look like a merchant calling out. He just looked like some sort of citizen of the nation.
Yeah, you'd only find people like that in the coastal cities, though. They're all weird in the head and generally wrong.
He's trying to book the ship back to Sunsvale.
It's not going to go. We won't tell him because otherwise it'll come into explanations.
Obviously, we're hearing this from the outskirts of Dumbleberg, are we?
Yeah, well, he's quite loud as he's calling out to the guy trying to calm the crowds.
Okay, so as we're approaching Dumbleberg and therefore approaching the coast after these few weeks of travel, what is our goal?
I think our goal is if we can get to the coast itself and then move sideways towards up here to try to find some sort of merchant with maybe a non-magical ships that we can book passage out of here.
Yeah, a foreign merchant.
And are we aiming to head back to
literally
Delantry, Derrican,
out of here would be great. And also it would be good to find out if this is only affecting Aphasia or if this is affecting the other nations as well.
Exactly. What it means there is our first goal is to go anywhere that isn't Alvasia.
Yeah.
Once we've got to there, we can determine, okay, is this affecting everywhere or is it just Alvasia? If so, if it's only affecting Alvasia, then we're basically fine. We can go anywhere, including potentially using teleport circles or whatever. If it is more general, and it might be, then we can work out what else we need to do. There's also a possibility, because of what Redrin has basically employed us to do, there might be something we can investigate or find where we are now, rather than having to go back to where we consider home.
Okay, then, on that idea, so I'm thinking that, yes, we've definitely effectively arrived at the coast south of Beautiful, and then we head north up to Dimbleberg, but basically staying on the coast so we can actually look out over the ocean and see if there is actually any ship traffic visible.
It does have a few ships down there, some very fanciful ones that look like they shouldn't float. Some of them that, as a miracle, they're floating, and some of them that look like the boats you remember.
Those are the ones we're getting at.
And I'm thinking that potentially we want to find a spot outside Dimbleberg
and
for a campsite and things like that initially. So, and then we can be taking small forays into town to hear those sorts of announcements and the fact that someone goes going for breakfast and things like that.
And what I was getting at is, while you're hearing that announcement, you sort of get the feeling with an insight that this ship is flying from town to town, getting all the populace and passing on information, because they're probably making this announcement this day only and then moving on.
Yeah. And this was actually the crippled airship that was actually flying, but it was obviously very damaged. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have the feeling that you've probably got maybe an hour's more before it moves on, where you've got the only distraction you'll have in this town as foreigners.
Yep.
So we want to get ourselves onto a ship before anyone notices us.
And I wouldn't recommend the airship.
Oh no, that's sort of a basic to stay away from.
You see it sort of floating to the north of the town, so it's not over the town itself, and at probably about 20 feet above the ground. Unlike the height that they were floating previously, you don't think they have risen too high since it crashed last.
Yeah.
I could
Nothing else that makes it's short of distance to fall.
You get the feeling that it's being kept low for safety reasons.
Yeah.
It could survive that level of crashing.
So you were saying there was about half a dozen or so ships in the harbour at the present time.
Yep.
Two of which would be considered seaworthy by Lani's perspective. Is that what you're suggesting?
From Lani's perspective, two of them look horrendous. They look like floating castles.
Yep.
A couple of them look like that they were designed for appearance, not for actual sail. You're not even sure they can sail the way that their whole rigging's set up. And 3 of them look like they are designed to sail the way you remember, with one of them actually with Minrathad colours, which you do recognise having grown up as a competitor to them.
Yeah. Do we recognise, aside from obviously the one that's Minrathad colour, or flying Minrathad colours, and is obviously at least somewhat standard design from a Minrathad Phyashan type perspective, can we recognise the design or construction of the other ships?
They are
designed. Country of origin?
They are designed in a similar style. Just the country of origin is not apparent, because Alphatia is a collection of kingdoms. So it could quite easily be any number of kingdoms that they belong to, and they do have a surprisingly large naval force, considering they prefer magical flying vehicles.
Yeah. Oh no, that's right. It was more the idea. Obviously, we've arrived on the east coast of Alphatia, and looking at the big map, there's a whole lot of kingdoms they're looking at on the other side. That means that it was quite possibly completely different style of building ships. Would be not unreasonable, but I'm thinking that obviously I'm happy to bow to Lani's options to best things here, but
with I guess Lani's expertise, I believe she would suggest trying to get in touch with the captain of the Minrathad ship to see if we can book passage with them, to see if they're moving out, and worst comes to worst, try to stow away and head out that way.
Would it be potentially better to stow away first and ask forgiveness later?
Some captains will throw you overboard.
Minrathad doesn't look kindly on that, because they're all about contracts.
Yeah, so it might be best to try to book a deal with this one.
Once you have a contract with them, you are basically under their protection until they deliver you. So if the entire army of Alphatia was after you while you were on that boat, they would throw themselves in front of you to stop them.
But by the same token, they could easily consider themselves under a contract with Alphatia to, hey, we collect that reward.
Not if they've signed the paperwork.
Just putting up a reward doesn't mean anyone's got a contract to do so.
No. From the perspective of, hey, we'll offer you passage, no problem. Guards.
Only an Alphatian can claim. You already found out from the Guardsman that only an Alphatian can claim the reward. Anyone else who claims the reward will probably be executed as a spy after you're executed.
Sounds good. We can make certain they understand that situation if they do question about it. So cool. With that.
I think nearly every other nation understands that quite well, because people who deal with this place regularly know that as long as you stay on your ship, you'll probably get out alive.
It's one of those places where one of the things you really want to do is make sure you understand the local law before you do anything here.
Yeah, and that's it.
And they're not going to be stupid enough to stay ignorant.
And the Minrathads are the best sea traders in the region. They are the ones who everyone goes to transport something on the water if they want it delivered.
Okay, well, yep, certainly. While the crowd's listening to the speakers, let's get down to the docks and...
Yeah, before we go to approach, I ask everybody, what are you guys willing to trade for passage?
We've got a bunch of money and things that are worth money. I think cash would be the easiest way.
Yep. How much do you think would be an acceptable offer?
So it's a case of we might look to Liney to understand what passage might cost, but also whether or not we wish to actually go way above or way below the standard expectations on the idea of you say that the Minothads are true to their word once a contract being signed.
Absolutely.
So it doesn't matter that we might have other wealth that they haven't called for yet, or whether we try and hide the additional wealth.
Well, that's what you do before you start negotiating.
Well, they are generally very fair, and it's very hard to get the best of them. The people who go in to negotiate normally come out worse. It's the equivalent of negotiating with the Darrakans in an open market. You generally come out worse when you go in to negotiate with them.
Mr. GM, seeing my character has a lot more knowledge about this than I do.
Yep. You would expect to pay about 1 gold per person for per hex to get back.
So it's got to think that Penadir was going to be talking to Lani, pull out a few of his. He's got a handful of 100 GP gems. He'll pull out a few of those and just ask, is this the sort of figure we're talking about?
Thereabouts, give or take. I'd have to make some calculations to get a reasonable value. Like work out the actual distance.
It also depends on where we want to go, I suppose. So
That's
I
the
guess
other thing.
we would ask what is their ship route and how much to take us.
You're looking at minimum of about 100 gold each to get out of our faking controlled territory.
Well, where would that take us? I'm presuming that's going to be the closest coast.
That would take you basically into Helski or down to Fermaglaive.
Okay.
Unless, of course, they're heading east from here.
Okay. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about actual just destinations. Do we want to go back to what we consider our home countries? Or do we want to basically keep our heads down somewhere else?
I certainly think that we want to get back eventually.
Any country besides...
That's not the question I asked, Jeremy.
So,
sooner rather than later.
As a response from the GM, you know that any country inside the Alphatian Empire has a once your head on a pike reward going currently.
I realise that. We're talking about first step outside the Alphatian Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we going to go outside the Empire?
First step is
get on with that ship and go wherever they're going.
Or Fermaglaive.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was asking. Where are we going to go? Now, I did say earlier, our best bet is to just be away, and that's the best way to do so. Where is your next point of fall? Outside the Empire. We're going there, please. That's the answer I was after.
Yeah,
and I kept getting other answers.
Well, but there wasn't really an answer to the question. It was away from here.
That is exactly the answer to the question.
And then, after that, we can work at where we're going.
Yes, that was exactly the answer to my question. And I kept getting other answers.
Okay.
We're going to where the Mithrathans are going next. It's outside the Empire. Easy. That's the question, and that's the answer. Okay.
Unless, of course, they're willing to say, yes, we'll take you wherever you want to go.
That's going to be
that becomes a different question once we understand.
Well, when you make a contract with them, you have to select a destination.
That's why it's going to be 2 contracts. One is to get out.
No, there is no 2 contracts. You have to select where you're going when you sign a contract with them.
Yes, and then it is to get just outside.
No, again, I'm saying that's not what they do. They do not take you somewhere outside something. You have to select a destination for them to drop you.
Yes, asking where they're going and saying that's where we want to go, that's already been covered.
I know it hasn't because you haven't spoken to them.
That's
Yes,
right.
I know, I realise that, but where we want to go is where they're already going. That's the first point of call outside the
You're
Empire.
going ahead of the discussion and basically coming with a solution without having the information.
That's right.
Okay.
At this stage, we've only got the information of we have enough money to get wherever they might want to take us to.
Okay.
It's the first part of that question. Lani asked us how much we're willing to offer. I don't know about this with you, but Paladin bought out 900 GP worth of gems. She looked at it and said, yeah, that'll probably cover.
Yeah, so essentially, Paul, to kind of help answer your question a little bit, I believe where we are is Lonnie just asked exactly that, and so now we can go towards the Mythian ship and negotiate passage to their next port of call that is outside of this nation's call, and then after that we will decide as a group what is happening next, because so far we do not know. We have no concept of to know. So okay. I guess we'll go ahead and start by carefully heading towards the Mythian ship and try to find a way to negotiate.
Okay, so the city is built into the side of the cliff face with many roads going down.
Oh, goody. That'll make it easier to get down through it.
Well, it's pretty much designed as you have the best view of the sunrise from certain locations, and each of those locations has what appears to be some sort of restaurant or cafe there.
Yep.
Most of them seem to be shut due to supplies.
Yes. Does Grazzle, as far as Grazzle's concerned, we need to be taking his horse and cart onto the ship?
Yes. He wants his horse and cart, yes.
Yeah.
He recommends you take your horse and carts as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so, but how is the road suitable for horse and cart going down the cliffs?
You could probably march an army 10 abreast up and down the cliffs with room to spare.
Okay.
This place is for trading. They're not going to have no way to get up and down with wheeled vehicles or cargo vehicles.
Though there are a lot of places.
Magic, so.
Well, magic would be the way.
There are a lot of places closed due to lack of supplies.
Oh yeah. But the old roads from before the really heavy magic use, I'm presuming, still exist. We can use those.
There you go.
And the crazy people from other countries like to walk instead of trust magic.
Oh yeah, true.
So they keep them maintained then.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so you have no problems walking down to the piers. Doing so, you see lots of people standing on squares, tapping them impatiently by the side of the road.
the insight says teleportation devices or locations.
Very much so, or communication things. It's hard to tell with the Alphasians that they're all crazy.
Yeah.
Because you can swear that some of them were talking at you when they were just talking to something you couldn't see.
Okay. Well, we shall aim to, as unobtrusively as possible, being the only people walking down the thing with a couple of carts and horses and towards the docks and to the men of that ship as our first point. Yes.
Okay, you have no problems getting down to the docks because most of the people have gone up to the top level, having taken that long walk to talk to the people in the skyship.
On our way down, is it worth Lani going ahead at all to try and start negotiations with the men of that?
It is. They would look on her favorably.
Yeah, so Lonnie would take point to go ahead and try to hail the captain and do usual greetings and such.
So
you don't need my services to line things up. So cool.
So about halfway down, you hear a groaning sound and see the airship go over the harbour and start heading south.
Slowly.
Okay, we will certainly aim to pick up the pace a little bit just to ensure that if people start coming back down again, we're ahead of that traffic.
You do see a bit of a trail of smoke coming from one side of the ship as it's traveling. Okay, so you...
Benedict having a quiet thought that, I'm thinking we're going to take it down, because if that's the main form of communication available within the country, if it gets lost, then more likely the whole Alphasian Empire will fall and collapse under chaos.
Well, we just saw a large chunk of it fall, so yeah.
But the idea being taking it down without being noticed that it was us taking it down.
Well, we didn't do it this time.
Okay, so Lani, you reach the pier rather quickly, heading on down, and you recognize the ship's captain. He's one of those stuffy know-it-alls who believes that nothing surprises him.
Ah, so we know how to deal with that. Let him believe it.
So I'll hail the captain, and
he calls out, Lani, damn that you're here. What you doing here? Did you lose a bet?
I might have lost a bet, might have won a bet. It's hard to say these days.
He says, looking inland, I would say lost a bet.
I asked the captain what him and his ship are doing here.
Again, lost a bet. But basically, whoever lost the bet had to take the cargo here.
I asked him if he's close to shipping out.
He was just looking for a cargo and a reason.
I say, well, I have a cargo and I have a reason.
Good enough for him. What's your destination?
I tell him anywhere out of Alphasia. Ideally, what was your last port of call?
Well, my last port of call was Tenoboa, but they seem to have trouble transporting some boxes to Dimmelberg, so I got the short straw and had to deliver the boxes for them because they couldn't use their transportation hub.
Dang. What do you say we get out of here? Let's make a deal.
Sure, pick a destination. You know how this works. You tell me where you want to go, and if I can feasibly get there, you get I'll set a price, and if you're happy with that price, we'll sign a contract.
Sounds good to me. And then for player knowledge, what is like one of the closest places that Lani would know?
You would have a choice of Firminglaive, which is in the Thaiasian Empire, or Halskir, which is also in the Thaiasian Empire.
Mm-hmm.
They are the closest places, and each one would send you back close to 100 gold per person.
Okay.
But I mean, the other thing is that if they're willing to take us anywhere they're going, potentially the idea of I should go all the way back to Karamikos or something type stuff.
Well, if you pick a city, they will take you there. It's basically that's how they work. They don't care about the destination. If they don't want the destination, they'll negotiate destinations. But they will sign a contract based on pick-up and delivery. And until you actually say where you want to be delivered, once you're delivered there, you can't get back on the ship. You basically have to find your own way home off from wherever you're going. They don't wait around and do extra contracts. And they can't take on the same contract with the same group for whatever time the captain's been told by his guild.
So in that sense, unless there's a reason to stop somewhere in the Isle of Dawn or whatever type of stuff, if they're happy to take us halfway across the world,
they will take you all the way back to Irendi or into one of the countries of one of their cities of Durrican, as well, because they do deal with those places.
Okay.
Okay, do we actually just want to go straight back home and deal with the fact this is, well, it's going to take a while anyway.
Yeah, no matter what. So I'm just trying to think from a player perspective, since I haven't been with the party, where would Lonnie choose to go?
You do know Darkin, you do know Irendi. You wouldn't really
Yeah.
want to go to Minrathad because, well, you'd be penniless by the time you left.
Yes. Okay.
And considering the current tensions, you don't really want to end up in any way controlled by the Thaiations, because considering they treat you as the enemy to begin with.
Yeah.
Okay. Given what we're doing and who we're working for, where was the last time we met him? From memory, it was in Darrakan City.
It was in Darrakan City. That's where his base of operations is.
So, given what's going on, that's probably the best place for us to go.
Yeah, that's where probably, like, previously negotiated, I would have learned that that's where he is. So I'll go ahead, I'll ask Captain if I can negotiate going to, what was it, Darrakan City?
I
Darrakan City.
believe it is, well, it would be one of the areas near Darrakan, if I can actually bring up that map, because he won't go upriver.
Yeah.
No,
As close to,
he can get
whatever
us very
port
close.
is,
Yeah.
whatever port is close to there.
I mean, probably the closest major city would be Specularo, like Karamikos. So,
But from the Darrakan perspective, Athenos is the city of Darrakan that puts you on the highway all the way to Darrakan City.
Yep.
Okay.
Nice simple road.
And
So-
We've been on that road before.
he would charge you 200 gold per person to take you there.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, I would say let's draw up the contract. That sounds like a deal.
Okay, he pulls out one of the horrendous Minrothad contracts, because you know what these are like. They're magically binding, and pretty much you're considered a member of the crew for the duration of the trip as well.
Yeah.
So,
And from what you said, we're effectively Minrathad citizens for the duration.
and you basically
So.
have working passage for that price, because they don't take they're not passenger ships.
and they're, obviously as part of that negotiation line, you've included the horses and carts type stuff.
Yep, I included.
Let you
Drop
know
the
exactly
horses part.
and let you know exactly what the cargo is.
Yeah.
Hopefully, did
All
I
of
say
the
that?
stuff.
Yeah.
And so that would basically set you back about 2,000 gold all up.
That sounds about
No
right.
problem.
And by the time the others get down, you see that Lani's getting ready to sign something with the captain.
Well, she knows more about those contracts than we do.
You've seen some of the contracts from the Darken side of things. No one ever comes out ahead on those contracts unless you're following the basic guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
You get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Well, okay, certainly, as we drive up, I guess is the appropriate term, as this in the cart, we'll be aiming to board or arrange boarding as rapidly as possible, because, hey, we don't want to be seen in the area if we can avoid it.
Okay, so once you see that she has signed the contract, then the captain gestures for his crew to start loading you and your gear.
Yeah.
And they use a complex set of hooks and pulley systems hanging from their rigging to pull you up and onto their boat.
Okay, so even the people on feet, they're brought up on the platforms rather than gangplanks. Is that right?
They are taller than most of the ships in port, so they are probably about 10 feet above the at the lowest point above the pier.
The door point, yeah.
And in most cases, they rise way above the pier because the pier is designed for luxury boats. And they needed a delivery of a sailing ship at a luxury boat port.
Yep.
So as the party joins, I'll introduce them to the captain and be like, this guy, he knows his stuff, and he'll get us to where we need to go.
He greets you all warmly and welcomes you as members of his crew until you reach the town of Athenos. He then runs through you the basics of every day you get up, you work, you keep your head down, you do what you're asked to do, and they will get there faster.
Yep.
No questions, he's the captain. The boatswain also will word is law on ship, and none of your gear or items will be touched by the crew or expected to be pulled out by you for the duration of the trip.
Cool.
So they basically, for their protection and your protection, unless an attack happens, in which case you're welcome to pull anything you bring with you out to save the ship.
Right.
And as such, the ship will treat you as a member of the Minrothad collective, and the collective itself looks after its own and doesn't leave someone behind.
Yeah.
And each of you is given a magical bracelet for the duration.
Uh-oh.
He says this should stop you falling off the ship.
Okay.
Whenever you get close to the ship, it will connect to the railing.
Okay.
And if you were to go over the ship, you could then pull yourself back onto the ship. Or someone else can then pull you onto the ship.
I don't know. I'm disappointed, Martin. I was imagining that, yes, it suddenly inflates out. It can become a life. It can point you best.
I know, that means they might lose you. This way they get to make you work the entire time.
Yes.
And they'll remove it once you reach Athenos.
Now, certainly, as far as gear going and things like that, Benedict playing a Timmy whistle.
Mm-hmm.
Luck around his neck, if only to blow a jaunty tune at times.
Yes.
Okay, so you have before you a 3-month, roughly, sea voyage working holiday.
Whee.
So if any of your downtime activity you wanted to gain seacraft skills,
And each of you will be considered proficient in Vehicle C by the end of it. Because you'll have no choice but you'll have no choice but gaining proficiency as they teach you through repetition how to do every job on the boat.
That's fair.
Because that's what we're employed for.
Well,
So at this point, do I get expert level in this?
well, you get to oversee and teach them most of the time. So you don't have to do stuff because you know what you're doing, but they don't give you the lead roles because, well, you're not engaged at that level. But you do find that you're not given the crappy roles either, so you're not sent to cut up food for the gully.
Yeah.
And you have probably the nicest trip on a boat you've ever experienced, because while it is a merchant ship, it isn't one designed for war. It's not one designed for slavery, and it's not one designed for instant transport. It's designed to get everywhere safely and with the contents intact. Beyond that, everything else is a luxury. So it is probably the middle ground in every sort of ship style you can imagine, while still being a functional, serviceable ship.
Mm.
Very nice.
From a Rendi perspective, they could have done so much more stylizing on this.
Yes,
Yeah.
well, that costs money and adds weight,
Yep.
which
Boring.
reduces cargo, so they're not going to touch it.
It's boring and practical and boring.
Yep. And,
Yes.
and any of the revolutionary things that the Arendis have come up with to streamline things have not been done by these people, because once they perfected the craft, they didn't change it.
Yep.
You could do half the stuff they're teaching by the time you were 6.
Exactly. Yes.
Smeek.
But it does make Llewell feel right at home from the way his elven family would teach him stuff, because they were teaching him tradition, and Minrathads are very big on the tradition of sailing.
Yep. And, well, I'm looking at this and going, well, it's only a few months. I'll learn a lot. We can learn a lot about the world, find out about what people know about the places they've been.
And obviously part of that, the idea of, yes, what the crew knows about this loss of magic in the world for the last month.
That too.
And also any other ongoing, like the events of the last 6 to 12 months, whatever. No, in fact, we'll be more than that now, because we had a few months in isolation before we actually, or after we got lost in time.
Yes.
Okay, so
the opportunity again for a different perspective on what's going on in the world.
We will bring that up next session as you find out some information between now and then. But you have managed to get yourself out of Alphatia in probably the only safe way you could imagine, unless you had magical transportation. And even then, it might not have worked.
I think I'm not certain that even Penelope would have been able to maintain circular breathing long enough to fly across the whole ocean.
I bet he would have tried though.
He was on the verge.
It can't be that far.
I was afraid they're gonna sell us.
Okay. How long, if at all, how long does it take for us to get our magical abilities back?
It doesn't come back in that time.
Oh, fun.
And no artifacts have worked. All artifacts are silent.
Part of the timing, or the time taken, is can we work out exactly what does work and what doesn't work at this stage?
Okay, so the moon sword, the other artifacts that you've picked up, just feel extra heavy.
Okay.
No communication, no awareness, no conversation. Anything over second level spell just doesn't work.
Right.
Nothing more than second level. Okay.
Yep. No one can contact the gods, and no secret crafts seem to work.
Okay, because they're all god powered.
And that includes, in the case of Atruaghin, for ancestry type.
Yeah, same thing. That's all god powered.
No one's listening to anyone from the heavens. Technically, there is one who's listening, but if you're asking him for help, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, no.
Considering you almost talked to him in another world.
Yeah, that would have been,
So, to put it into perspective, the way things are acting here, it feels like you're still in Francia.
Yep. One thing, Martin.
Yep.
During the week travel from the capital through to Dimmelberg.
Yep.
Can Penadier convince Grazzle to lend him one of his pairs of boots?
He's more than happy to just hand you the boots, except for the fact that he can't reach into the bag at the moment because something's not working.
Okay.
But he does hand you the bag and ask if you can fix it for him.
Well, I'll take it off his hands if you like. I'll play with it for a while, but yes, obviously not succeed.
Not going to get anywhere.
He asks if you can fix his book too.
Right.
Sorry, as a player, I'm so unique in the fact that I'm sure Title can fix it.
Because he says future is blank.
Possibly because the future's unwritten.
No, future written, future blank.
He can't read the book of the future because he doesn't have his god contact.
But they're kind of penalties to imply with the fact that, well, previous in the future may have been written, but possibly the world's in a state of where the future is unwritten.
Future book was full of words. Now book half empty.
Yes.
Well, the world's changed.
We've lost words. He looks very upset by that.
Amongst other things.
He's still stuck on he's lost words. He doesn't know where to find them.
Right.
Okay, so but I'm assuming from the okay, over the next couple of weeks, people have got the opportunity to go 8th level.
They will be 8th level next session.
Yep.
And I will be looking at doing a build page for everyone so they can show all their downtime and anything they might have missed on their character.
Yeah.
So
well, all of my downtime has to be redone.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
That's why I'll be doing a page for everyone online, like I've been doing for the Friday group.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I haven't seen. So yeah, fair enough.
I did notice. I don't know if they've gone through it afterwards, Carmen, but there seem to be a number of those. There was a few cut and paste repetitions.
There are.
Like the idea of obviously using the base template hadn't necessarily been changed all the way through. So.
It's taken a while to fix them up, and by the time they're published, they're still in the process of being done. So
yeah, I didn't think it was necessarily vital, but I thought I'd mention it in case it hadn't been noted or was thought about. So.
Well, the closest one to being done would probably be the Bard of Valor. Because I've been working on downtime for that one as well, so you'll see how the downtime all linked in and working.
It's cool. Because so I have been looking at the character sheets. Oh, hey, what other things are people playing in this campaign?
And so that is Stefan's Friday's Disney Bard.
Yep.
So who's currently putting on musicals about Tidal and his story.
Awesome.
And other things.
And other things, yes. He's done many musicals, but the funny thing is he did a musical of his other character.
That's
Yes.
really funny. I love that.
Because he didn't want to be a Disney princess, and every time he tried to complain about it, he broke into song. It's amazing what a curse will do that got then turned into a blessing by another god.
Yes, because it is a blessing, because every time you sing, dinner arrives.
It did happen that way, and then one of the characters has an axe beak that would then go, lunch is served.
Yeah, exactly. That's like all the little birdies coming twittering around. Hey, dinner.
Finally March.
Yes.
Or the rabbits come and listen. Perfect.
Very, very much a cross between Snow White and Shrek.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay then.
I will see you tomorrow
Thanks very much.
night, Jeremy. I'll see everyone else next game I'm with you in. And thank you for joining, especially Clarissa for coming in for more of a story outlay of what the characters need to know about the state of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait.
I understand what you've got yourself in for compared to the complete unknown of the unknown universe that become related. Well, okay, very related, but not necessarily directly related to what we actually thought was happening.
So to put in perspective for the players in this group, Jeremy knows this because he's in the Wednesday group, as Stefan does, who was in there. Is in the Wednesday group in this game year that you're currently in, the gods disappeared.
Right.
Oh.
And the gods are gone for a long time. I'm not telling you how long.
Dimitri's on the job, he'll bring him back.
They've been playing in that for longer than you've been doing your time away in Castle Amber, and they still haven't brought the gods back. So,
Come on, Wednesday group, pick it
Okay,
up.
that makes me excited, okay? And I question is, for someone who he's appear like stop coming near up when we are like in a horrible place where one of the devils are just sucking like the magic. My question is, the god disappeared here because there is some sort of similar thing going on?
you think it's
Jeremy broke it.
you think it's very related because it almost fits historically what you found in some of the discussions with people in the other world.
Yep.
An event like this happened.
And it didn't get fixed.
Yeah, but my
Or it
question
did
is,
get fixed,
a
depending
lot
on
of
your point of view.
magic disappear now,
Mm-hmm.
and that feels like someone had a way that is way more powerful to fuck the magic of our world than some of the other worlds we visited.
Well, and okay, from a player's perspective, I can tell you that in fact it was exactly the same person, or in this case, God.
Mm-hmm.
I.e., Thanatos, who was the one that had become the force of chaos in Francia and had sucked all the magic away.
Yeah.
It's his influence and effects that has caused the loss of magic here.
Yeah, from our character's perspective, basically what we experience in France is we're feeling the same effects here, and so all we know right now is we need to figure out if it's affecting just that area or if it's the whole world, and then from there creating a plan, mayhaps.
And what
Because we don't know about the Windsticker.
And what you'll be finding out during your travels is everywhere you go, there's the same stories. But
yeah, that's why I asked when we arrived in Darrakan, is it the same? And the answer was yes.
You'll find out something different by the time you reach Darrakan, but this is saying during your travels before you get back, because I'm not saying what happens when you get there, because we're not there yet. You'll find the same things in a lot of places being repeated about how magic's not working properly.
Yeah.
On the bright side, it's probably delayed the war.
But it's just made them more angry because each side is going to blame the other for the loss of magic.
Yeah, that's right. But obviously, both Galantry and Alphacia are desperately reliant on magic to conduct war. They can't conduct war at the moment.
Yeah, they can, just really badly. All they need is pointed sticks and a bunch of people.
Well, but there's a great deal of water between them as well, so...
Yeah?
So the effect of their war will be greatly mitigated.
Well, mitigated and not being able to war are two entirely different things, and my point was the war is still going to happen.
Oh, I definitely was only saying delayed. So...
Okay, so we'll call it there. We'll call it a night there, guys, and I will catch you again next session when you shall find out what the effects of god displacement does to people.
I'm scared.
Right, so the feat that I've just picked up is not going to have any visible effect until after they all come back.
Probably not.
Elemental adept.
Yeah. Okay, then. Have a good night, all.
Have a good night, everyone. I'll talk to you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.